I'm producing.
Yeah,
I hit the record button. Okay, hang on. You've noticed that though, right? We haven't been pulled off YouTube, so I think we're right with the 30-second thing. I don't know. I heard this. I forget where I heard this song, but I dig it. Uh-oh. What did I do? Oh.
Take it to the back of the club, that woman don't take this the wrong way. I've been peeping that ass, and if you give it my chance, I ain't gon' play. I really want to get to know you, that's what I told you, girl, you know I don't play. I want to put it in your mouth, girl, you better do what the song say. Just throw it on me, just throw it on me, just throw it on me.
That's 30 seconds. I think that's 30 seconds. I know you don't look impressed. You guys, this might not be your music, but whatever, it's my show.
I was going to say, that totally reminded me of my career at CSIS, Joey.
No, well, I was looking for the 007 soundtrack, but
that wasn't it.
But that's not it. But I was listening to this on the way here, and I forgot just how good Timbaland was for a while. Remember him and Missy Elliott?
No.
I feel like I'm talking to Luke, and Luke doesn't have a microphone. He's just nodding. Yes. Anyway. So that was, let me give some credit where credit's due. Throw It On Me by Timbaland with The Hives. I think that came out in like 06 when I was chasing bad guys through the mountains of Afghanistan. Well, here we are. It's the Jody Mitic Podcast, episode 12. We are at Greco Orleans, as usual. Thank you for allowing us to be here and have the show. Luke, do I ask? Okay, I won't ask. But we are brought to you by Firehouse Coffee. Firehouse is spelled Farehaus, kind of like Zajamans. And if you want to find him, it's Firehouse Coffee Roasters on Facebook. Send him a DM, and he'll send you some coffee at some point, I hope. We should bring him on the show. Yeah, give him a call. Let's get him on the show so we can bust his balls about his lack of marketing on here. We have a couple other potential sponsors, just so you know, Luke. Luke is nodding and maybe coming on board now that our numbers make it worthwhile. So let's jump right into it because it's getting late and I got to get to bed because I got gym at 5 in the morning. Tonight we got Adam Nero back from Ronin training. He's going to drop some serious truth bombs on us, but he brought his friend Phil Gurski from Borealis Threat. Borealis?
Borealis, yeah.
Borealis Threat. I posted your last well, is this his last article?
It was one of his recent
One of your recent articles online, and I sent it to some people that are in the know, and a few of them sent me back a note going, WTF, son? So, Phil, for the listeners, tell us whatever you can tell us about what you used to do.
Well, I can tell a lot because I wasn't as kind of spooky as Adam here, but no, I worked in intelligence for more than 3 decades. Started my career in signals intelligence with CSE, specialized in the Middle Eastern languages, and then in 2001 moved over to CSIS, where I became an expert in homegrown terrorism. Just after 9/11, sorry, just before 9/11. So all the cases that we had here in Canada, leading up to my retirement in 2015.
Wow. So you just retired.
About a year and a half ago, yeah.
Started Borealis Threat and Risk Consulting. You have a blog, you have a website. What's your website?
So the website is borealisthreatandrisk.com. The blog is Terrorism in Canada and the West. And my book that came out last November is called The Threat from Within. That's already been published. And
I apologize, I did not realize that.
No worries. My second book's coming out in January, and that's Western Foreign Fighters. And if all goes well, I'll have a third book a year now.
Good, because Western Foreign Fighters, so you're talking about people that are Canadian that go to fight for ISIS.
Go and fight for ISIS.
Kind of like our young man down in, where was that, Strathroy?
If you wanted to. You want to be, yeah. Most of them are wannabes, but some of them unfortunately get there and do some damage.
Get there.
Yeah, and then some come back. That's what the book's about. What's the threat when they come back?
Not much if you did what I want to do to them. But do we know who they are?
Some of them we do. Some of them we don't, right? Some of them we're kind of following, and then they kind of... Some have been arrested, certainly in Canada. Some evade detection. Some are on the radar and still get out. Best case scenario is they go and die over there. So
yeah, that's an excellent case scenario.
Well, they're no longer... it sounds crass, but they're no longer a threat.
It's not crass at all. It's pretty efficient.
Yeah, of course, the downside is if they die and they take people with them, like happened in Algeria back in 2013.
Was that a Canadian?
There were 2 Canadians from my hometown of London, Ontario.
At the oil refinery.
At the oil refinery. They ended up killing 40 foreigners. So that's the worst case scenario. But a lot of these guys, like John Maguire, outside of Ottawa, Andre Poulin from Timmins, Ontario, go over there, fight with ISIS, and die.
Get vaporized. I read an article in the National Post by
Stuart Bell.
It said, we're not going to be lucky forever or something. I forget the title. Go.
Well, you know what? We've got some really excellent services. CSIS is an excellent service. So is the RCMP. So is all of our law enforcement. You got finite resources, and you got too many people to worry about. So people just say, just follow them. Just put them under surveillance, with not realizing it takes between 20 and 40 people to follow somebody. So,
and also, it's unless they're actually breaking the law, there's only so much you can do.
Which is exactly what happened in Strathroy with the driver, right? The reason why he was on a peace bond, and we can talk about that, is that he hadn't broken the law. That's why they couldn't charge him.
It's not illegal to be a douchebag on the internet.
There's lots of them.
Yeah.
And the vast majority of them are actually that. They used to call them couch jihadis.
Yeah.
They don't actually do anything.
Because I was listening to, I guess they had a town hall in Strathroy not long after, I think maybe a day or two of Monday, whatever it was. And I believe, who's the Minister of Public Safety? Ralph Goodall was there. Yeah. And one of the neighbors says, how come we weren't told he was in the neighborhood? Well, because it's his privacy.
Well, yeah, and that's I've done interviews on that a lot since people have asked me that very question. They said, well, if he was a child molester, you would have told us.
Yeah, but he's not.
But he wasn't charged and he wasn't convicted. So, I mean, there are privacy rights. As much as we think the guy's a douchebag, there still are privacy rights.
Yeah, until you actually break the law.
That's right.
And unless he's inciting hate, but even then, that's just a charge, right? Like you have to be convicted, and you have to go through the rigmarole.
It's impossible to get conviction on hate charges in Canada. I don't remember last time it was actually accomplished. It's really, really hard to get a conviction on that because we have charter rights, freedom of speech.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And with a lot of these homegrown lone wolf type guys, the real money is what's sitting on their hard drives, what's on their flash drives, what's on their phones, and the threshold to get a warrant, even if they are convicted of something approaching, planning a terrorist attack. The threshold to get a warrant and really rifle through their stuff, forget about it. You're never going to get the level of intrusiveness you need to actually indict, let alone prosecute them. And that's where that dichotomy is, right? With the Canadian citizens, they're up in arms over privacy fears, thinking that we're violating the charter left, right, and center. But the second somebody gets dropped in a little town near London, they say, why didn't you do something before he got in the cab? Well, you didn't want us to.
Well, I was actually I was gonna read it before I came here, but I was like had to get ready to come here. If I'd known you were gonna be late, Phil, I would have actually read it. But and the cab driver says is saying why was he's feeling like bait basically, and the OPP and the RCMP did nothing to protect him, he claims.
Well, I know there's a lot of fear that happens in cases like this. The neighbors, the mayor, everything.
Right.
I think the cops were as surprised as anybody when the cab pulls up. So they knew it was Aaron Driver. They knew the house. They did their stakeout, and then holy shit, the cab pulls up,
and he comes out with a duffel bag.
The guy's saying, "Why is there a cab here? Is he an accomplice? Is this prearranged? Like, why is there a cab coming up?" So I mean, I'd be very, very surprised if the RCMP put a caveat as bait.
No. I think this is how he's feeling.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And the one quote I did manage to read was, he heard one of the cops say he's still twitching before a few more shots went into our young jihadi man. So let's get down to it. We've had a few lone wolves here. We had the one successful dude that picked a Winchester lever action rifle for his assault on Parliament Hill, and luckily he was a dummy who didn't show up with an AK-47. But what's where's this heading for us? What's 2016, what's the next 5 years possibly?
Well, we certainly
what's your assessment here?
We're going to see more. I'm confident the vast majority will be stopped, like Aaron Driver.
They are anyway.
Yeah. But we've seen other countries, right? We saw what happened in Orlando. We saw what happened in San Bernardino. We saw what happened in Nice. We saw what happened in Brussels. We saw what happened in Germany. These guys are out there,
Yeah.
right? There's still a pretty small number, comparatively speaking.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the cases in Canada. None of them came out with an AK. None of them came out with automatic weapons. That's a good sign. I mean, it shows it's still kind of hard to get hold of them for these guys because they're not necessarily sharp as pencils in the box.
I was going to say, is it more the operator and less the intention?
So. You look at the modus operandi in all the cases. We had a fertilizer bomb in Toronto. We had IEDs.
Who was the first? Was that the Toronto 18?
Toronto 18, yeah. They built their own fertilizer bomb, right? One guy had an electrician's course from Humber College. He could figure this kind of thing out.
It's not hard, right?
Well, my cat could do it, right, on the internet. So the second case was a Samosa case in Ottawa, and the guy had been in Afghanistan. He knew how to make IEDs. So that was his plot. And that never went anywhere. Then we had the via passenger plot. They're going to derail a train. Two guys with a shovel trying to derail a train. Not going to happen. Then we had the case that was thrown out in Victoria. 2 people built bombs based on the anarchist cookbook. Pressure cooker bombs. Again, not complicated, right? Then we had the case just before Ottawa, the guy in Montreal with a car drove over the warrant officer. Yeah. So a car is his MO. Yeah. Then you had the guy with the Winchester in Parliament Hill. So
but the guy with the car wasn't that like he was just he just snapped? No,
well, he wanted to go fight with ISIS. And we found out about him. We said, you're not going to fight with ISIS. So what can happen in Canada is you can have your passport seized. Yeah. Right? Okay. The RCMP can take your passport if they think you're going to do something illegal with it.
Good.
And then they talked to him, and the guy said, yeah, you know what? I've changed my mind. I've seen the light. This was a really stupid idea. And thank God you guys stopped me because I'm gonna clean up my act right now.
Good.
And that was 10 days before he got in the car, sat in the parking lot, wait for 2 guys in uniform to go by, and ran them both over.
Right. So they're out there. They're not that bright. What happens when the smart ones show up? Adam?
Start worrying.
First of all, sorry, let's do a little sidetrack. How deep are you still in this world, Adam?
Not at all. Not at all.
So Phil's the guy who's still up to his eyeballs in bad guys.
Phil was being pretty modest during his introduction. So Phil, only 15 years at CSIS. He's recognized worldwide as a subject matter expert on Islamic extremism
100%.
and radicalism, and he's spoken around the world. And other intelligence agencies used to come to us for Phil's brain. So he's being humble.
Right.
I'm not attached to the service in any way anymore.
Okay.
But for part of my stint, I was domestic counterterrorism based in Ottawa. And it would concern you if you had seen what I'd seen in our own neighborhoods.
Yeah, well, Phil touched on a good point. Like it's a proper tale takes like 15 people, I think, just for a couple hours.
For a couple hours.
And then when you add in electronic support and mobile support and logistical support, you're talking 40, 50 people.
20 to 40 people
for one person.
And how long can you do that for? You can't do it indefinitely.
Well,
people get tired, people burn out.
It's an intense couple days maybe because you think something's coming. But we talked about this when you were here last. Do people watch Bourne and they go, oh, well, you just track them through CCTV, through remote breaking in with the internet, and it's how hard you use a satellite. How hard is it to follow a guy? You put an RFF in his cell phone, and
so something that's interesting. I remember.
Is it the CSI effect? I'm being serious. CSI
there are elements of
juries for a decade.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, there are elements of truth to it.
It puts expectations in the average person's head that this is just what our intelligence services can do.
We have tremendous capabilities, but they're personnel heavy, they're time heavy, and they're resource intensive. To spin a surveillance
this is what I'm saying.
Is no small thing.
Right.
Even on committed to a target that they're very, very comfortable and familiar with, it's still no small thing. And the problem is that these guys perpetrating these acts, planning these acts, they're picking up bits and pieces of good tradecraft on the internet. Some of it's bad. Some of it they're learning from seasoned returnees or guys that have actually been active in war zones or former fighters that were state-sponsored actors. And they're developing their own tradecraft, which in a lot of cases is quite good. So they're starting to become savvy to what surveillance looks like. They know how to detect it. They know how to lose it. They know how to, for example, if they suspect that they are being followed by their mobile devices, they understand the concept of how to use disposable phones, how to get into dead zones so that the signal's lost. We're not... it's not a level playing field anymore, and we're hamstrung by rules.
But the other interesting thing is in a lot of cases, they don't care. They don't care they're being followed. They don't care that you've interviewed them. They don't care if they think their phones are being tapped. They just don't care because they're so convinced that what they're doing is right. Is that, hey, if it works, inshallah it'll work. Inshallah it won't work. It's out of my hands. I don't care if CSIS knows about me. I don't care if the RCP knows about me. That is so counterintuitive. I mean, if I'm going to rob the Bank of Montreal, and I know that Ottawa Place is sitting waiting for me, chances are I don't go rob the bank that day. And I changed my mind. These guys.
They'll strap on the vest and walk
they don't
straight
care.
at the door. Hope they get someone. Something works out.
But you talked about the Bourne effect, and I got to tell you, for years when I used to watch those movies, I would be this close to kicking the TV in because it would be so fake. I work SIGINT. I know SIGINT works. And you can't just go into a country and within 3 minutes get the Paris police call that happens to have Jason Bourne on it.
What?
Sorry,
Blackbriar.
sorry to burst your balloon.
Within 4 minutes of facial recognition, it doesn't just come in that he's at the embassy.
I'm really sorry that this world is this Pollyannish perfect world has been burst.
Oh, hey, hey man, I was a sniper. I was a sniper in the army. I'm the same. I watch a movie and I want to, but you got to remember the movies aren't made for us. If they only made a movie for spies, there would be like 400 of you that went to see it.
And it'd be really boring, by the way.
And it would suck. I always say a real sniper movie would be 4 hours of guys looking through binoculars going, do we have any more peanut butter? Oh, never mind.
I gotta tell you, Phil, did you ever see Zero Dark 30?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Right, well, you'll watch it and you'll feel the same way I did, I'm sure. A buddy of mine, former surveillance guy, we went to this movie. This movie has a little bit of everything for spooks and operators. So it's 50% case officer, field agent, and 50% shooter.
Yeah.
And so we went from work. We had dinner at the Moxie's across the street, and then went to the movie theater. And I told him afterwards, man, I felt like I left work, took a small break, and went back to work.
Wow.
I was watching the
well, you said it was pretty accurate.
Watching the portrayal of her case officer just dealing with the incessant bureaucracy and frustration of chasing the world hide-and-seek champion. And just getting so close. And then
being so far.
Yeah, and it hit way too close. We were sitting there sighing.
That's interesting.
Our heads going, I gotta go home, man. This is
stressful.
Yeah, it was too.
So let's talk about Aaron Driver some more. What makes a young man? We've seen him. There was the other guy that was killed, and I think wasn't his mom trying to get the body back to Canada or something.
I've interviewed moms that their sons are terrorists. Hardest thing I ever did talk to a mom whose kid's a terrorist, right? And it's dead.
No, I'm saying we had that young guy.
We've had a guy, several from Calgary. We've had some from Windsor. We've had some from London.
We had an Ottawa kid a few years ago.
That's who I think I'm thinking of.
He did a big one in Mogadishu, in Somalia.
No. I'm thinking of a guy who was fighting with ISIS in the last year or so. Anyway, what's making these suburban white kids join ISIS?
Wow, that's.
I know. I've seen
how many hours we got.
I was watching Vice, and they were interviewing.
Farrah Sheardon.
They interviewed a couple of, they looked, East African or something, but they were from Toronto, I believe, or Montreal.
Farrah Sheardon from Calgary. That was the Vice interview where he basically brags on there, like, you guys can't find me. And
yeah, he says, we're always under. And you've noticed, even if they're Canadian, they start to talk like them. They point with their finger, and we are always under attack. It's like, hey, man, where's that accent coming from, man? You're Canadian. Yeah. Well, I guess it's whatever you surround yourself with, right? So what's the deal? Like, are kids that bored these days?
No, you know what? What we found out when I worked for the service is everyone's different, right? Everyone's got different circumstances. It's really all about, we call it the perfect storm.
Yeah.
It's sort of, are you open to the idea? Do you have someone in your environment that can give you the idea? Do you have someone in your environment that can explain the idea to you? And if you start backtracking, do you have someone who can convince you it's the right path? So, we heard about Aaron Driver, okay?
So who's convincing Aaron Driver?
If I knew the question of that, I'd be a gazillionaire.
No. Because seriously.
We don't know. Sometimes it's an online guy. Sometimes, like in the Toronto 18, they were all kind of radicalizing each other. And
they're like an echo chamber.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happens, right? Is these guys, what happens is that once you start down this pathway, you abandon your former life. You abandon your friends, your family, and your activities. And what you do is you kind of circle the wagons. And the only messages you're hearing are the same messages all the time.
Yeah.
And that does two things. It's an echo chamber, and it
try and stay close to the mic there, Phil.
And it also it precludes messages from coming from the outside.
Yeah.
They just bounce off. So it just reinforces it, right? So Aaron Driver, rough upbringing. His mom died when he was 7.
Okay, this is news to me.
Yeah,
okay.
so his mom died when he was 7 of cancer. Aaron was very close to her. He was...
Somebody's spying on us via Bluetooth, Jody. It's not my people. Is it your people, Phil?
No, just leave it off. Leave it off.
I don't know how many people.
No, sorry, Phil. It was weird. I'm like, what? Is that the Starship Enterprise talking to us?
So yeah,
it's my boss Bluetooth speaker. Yeah, okay, leave it off.
So Aaron Driver's mom dies when he's 7.
Who raised him?
His dad.
His dad was not a good dad?
Dad was in the military.
Uh-oh.
They moved around a lot, right?
His dad was on the radio the other day. Yeah, I heard
he
him.
was interviewed.
What did his dad do?
I don't know what trade he did in the military, but they moved back between Winnipeg and London kind of thing. Anyhow, Aaron Driver was very upset at the age of 7. He lost his mom. He says, "I wish you had died, not mom." So dad remarries. Doesn't like his stepmother. Then he gets his girlfriend knocked up when he's a teenager. Girlfriend loses the baby at birth. So the kids had a couple strikes against him, right? But
so he's already reeling mentally.
Yeah, but here's the problem, right?
Yeah.
How many people have a shitty upbringing?
Plenty.
Bad parents, abuse, be it sexual, psychological, physical, bullied at school, not real bright, blah, 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 blah. How many of them become terrorists? Virtually none. So you can't use those, say, because Aaron Driver had a lousy life, therefore the only track left to him was become a terrorist.
How many, but you could, I could counter-argue that and say, how many of them join biker gangs? How many of them become drug dealers? How many of them go onto Skid Row? How many of them this, that, and the other thing? It's not jihadi, but it's definitely not the right path.
And how many of them become success stories later on in life?
Oh, plenty
and
as well.
But that's my point is that it's all over the map. There's no predictability
100%,
to it. So what happened, and we've seen it time and time again, so Aaron Driver at some point in his life is looking for something.
Yeah.
He reaches out somehow, somewhere, and the guy that says, Aaron, I got the answer for you, bud.
He could have just as easily ran into a guy who made him a born-again Christian.
Well, he looked at
or made him a vegan, or sent him off to paleo camp, or CrossFit, or... Totally. Same moment in life.
Exactly.
And he just happened to run into Jihadi John or whatever.
And so a friend of mine, his name is Lauren Dawson. He's a prof at Waterloo. He's a sociology of religion prof. He says, look, go back to the Toronto 18. If those guys, when they were searching, had found something else at the time, you wouldn't have had a Toronto 18. It just happened to be, we're looking for answers.
Pokemon Go had come out.
Exactly.
The Toronto 18 would be Pokemon champions.
Pokemon champions. Well, they were kind of doofuses. They probably wouldn't have found anything. But anyway, it's another point. But that's how hard it is. So when you look at it from a thesis perspective, you say, well, who do we watch?
Yeah.
Well, it's not just the kids who are on Skid Row and the kids who.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. My argument was just.
You're right, though.
Some guys have a shitty childhood and they become, they join gangs and because really, ISIS is a gang.
Yeah, they're
anything you join is a gang, a tribe, a group, a family.
It's a surrogate family.
Right?
Yeah.
The real problem exists in the savvy manipulators that are deeply involved in the ideology. So a lot of these kids, whether they're, and I am going to wade into an ethnocultural sort of specific argument here, but we'll take the Islamist milieu, okay? Whether you're born into that religious faith or you come to it looking for some kind of salvation or direction, it's often not the guys blowing themselves up that are the root of the problem. What's happening is they come looking for answers, like Phil said, and there are guys that are way more switched on than you can possibly imagine, picking on the vulnerable ones, looking for the weak ones, the slow ones, the ones that they can twist. Again, it would shock you to know just how many establishments of good repute in this city have things going on in their basements and back rooms that even their own leadership doesn't know about or is so afraid of that they can't do anything about.
It would not surprise me at all.
Yeah.
It's to me it's disappointing that people aren't willing to step up a little bit more.
No, but this is a really good point. So is
this like the neighborhood, like the apartment building that knows a drug dealer's downstairs, but nobody wants to talk about it?
They don't want to get shot.
They don't want to get beef, right, with the guy.
And
the real that makes sense.
And the real challenge with these guys that Adam's talking about. So just yesterday in the United Kingdom, they nailed a guy. I think he got 20 years in jail. His name is Anjem Choudhury. He's a real pain in the ass ideologue. It took them 20 years to get charges on him. Why? Because he goes this far. And he doesn't go this far.
Yeah.
And he doesn't actually commit a criminal offense. So what do you charge him with? There's nothing to charge him with.
Yeah.
So you follow him, you watch him.
It's not illegal to be an asshole.
If it were, we'd have a lot of people in jail right now.
Oh, that's my point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
So you can be an asshole to this point, and then you go that far, it's hate speech. This
Yes.
far,
And
it's just a talk.
And they know exactly how far to go. So
course
this guy,
they do.
Anjem Chowdhury, was in the streets all the time.
He's not the one we banned from coming to Canada or something, is he?
There's a lot that we banned from coming to
Okay.
Canada. But, he was on welfare. He had 4 kids, never worked a day in his life.
Yeah.
And he was responsible for at least a half a dozen British people going to fight for ISIS, as well as a couple of attacks in the UK. He's the ideologue behind
That they
them.
know of.
Yeah, but again, you can't draw that line, right? I said this, he blew himself up. I don't get there. That's why you can't write charges on him. But they finally got him after 20 years.
I put the gun in his hand. I didn't make him squeeze the trigger. It's
Yeah.
that old argument.
Yeah.
They're more sophisticated than the people that actually perpetrate.
Of course.
They get them to a threshold
Yeah.
where they're boiling with anger and resentment and religious ideology or whatever the ideology is.
Yeah.
And they don't have
Convince them it's a good idea. You're a soldier of God.
And
Well,
then
and
the
that's the term they
cognition
use, right?
switches off, right? They stop thinking about what to do next
Yeah.
because it's a
Well, I've told this story, I think, I don't know if I've told it on the podcast, but, and I'm sure guys that have been overseas will tell you, the Taliban would choose guys with like obvious mental deficiency, and they would put wires through in their vests, just visible wires. And they would be like, yeah, go talk to those Canadians over there. They'll give you some water or a candy bar or something. And the guys, the guys doing the perimeter cordon, they see wires. Stop. Guy comes to, they shoot him. So now you have an incident because a guy with no bomb. It's just wires. And the Taliban watching going, oh, okay, he got within 75 meters, so we need a bomb that goes 150. Yeah. And, so now we got to deal with the fact that we shot someone from the village who wasn't doing anything wrong that they can prove, right? He just, he used a wire because he didn't have a string to tie his vest closed. Right, and they convince these guys it's okay. Just go talk to the Canadians. Yeah. It's the same group that's targeted by these people, but here. And when they latch on, that's when they sink their claws in.
And Adam's right. I mean, some of them are smart, some of them aren't. Some of them are good followers. But what Islamic State does really, really well is the propaganda. So they've already bragged about Aaron Driver, big success story. What is a success story? He blew off his gonads in the back of a taxi. How's that a success story? Yeah. He's a soldier of Islam. And it's only because of the kuffar, the infidels that got him before he went out as a hero.
Our wolves are among you, I think, is what they said.
Well, they're trying to spread fear, right? And you look at what happened at Nice with the guy on the truck. You look at what happened in Paris with the guys at the stadium or the guys in Brussels at the airport. So people are afraid. And the problem is that this isn't all that frequent as people like to think it is. I mean, the Aaron Driver attack was I thought it was the first one since 2014. We had that guy at the recruiting center back in April. He was a Somali guy, walked into a recruiting center in Toronto with a knife. Yeah. He wounded a couple officers. I don't know if that was terrorism yet because they haven't quite solved that, whether he was truly just crazy.
Apparently he was talking to people in his head.
Yeah, but that's the other myth, is that the vast majority of these guys are not crazy. They are not mentally ill. They're actually as sane as you and I. They just believe in a different rationality.
They're sane, but I think... you touched on it. Like their mind is just in a different place, and they're willing to allow themselves. Like, I don't know. Like I'm willing to go to the gym every day, and these guys are willing to put their mind into a place that makes them think it's okay to kill innocents.
The game that I played when I was out in the field was very much one of psychology and manipulation, right? So the art of recruiting a human source and having them do things for
So you'd go after humans.
Yeah.
Like straight from the right. What do you call them?
Human sources.
No, what would cops call them?
Informants.
Informant. Yep. Yeah. So you were looking for like the guy that turned in the Toronto 18.
The guy that was best friends with the idiot building the bombs, let's say, would be an example of a human source.
Right.
It's a psychological game. If you look at your own example after the incident in Afghanistan, okay, and you come home and you're rebooting your life, what allowed you to get through all that, okay, start a family, start a career, become a politician, go on to being in the gym at 5 a.m, was the belief system that drives you every day.
Right.
Okay. And you faced a moment of crisis because you were resilient as a result of the beliefs that you grew up with.
Yeah.
But a guy like Driver has had his life shattered over and over and over to the point where he has no faith in his belief system. His psychology is fragile, so he lacks resilience.
Right.
And it takes one more critical event to shake the guy down to nothing, and suddenly he's an empty vessel. He's looking for something that gives him faith in himself again, and at that point it's like wiping a hard drive. You can install whatever you want on it.
You get him stay close to the mic.
You get him at the right time. You can install any kind of software that you want.
Right, but also, you know, they say like a lot of serial killers are looking for fame, and they're like, oh, when I get caught, right? So is someone like Aaron Driver saying, well, I want to mean something. I want my life to have accomplished something. And if now they believe in ISIS, are they now saying, well, I'll be the Canadian kid that, or guy, you know, he's a man, so he's not a kid. Or am I going to be the Canadian guy that actually pulls off the first IED attack in Canada or something like that? Close to the mic.
It could be part of... There's a big difference, I think, between radicals and serial killers. And serial killers often exhibit...
I'm just using that as an example, right? Like the mentality is like, my life is shit. I can go out and do something that makes a difference.
I'm willing to bet probably the farm on the fact that these guys are deeply in tremendous pain. If you serial killers and sociopaths tend to lack empathy by definition, right? They may not even be connected to their own pain, let alone be able to care about what other people. But terrorists are tormented people, and not only that, they feel the pain and suffering of the group they think that they're representing, the oppressed, the Muslims who war is being waged on. It's not an act of self-glorification. It's a deep-seated, like a visceral...
The guys in Syria, sure. I'm talking about Aaron Driver.
He's no different.
No.
And I've seen, and pick up what Adam's saying, I've seen this in hundreds of cases. They identify with what's happening in Afghanistan. They identify what's happening in Somalia, what's happening in Syria. They take it personally. I've interviewed them, and they've told me I couldn't sit here and I couldn't stand here doing nothing when my brothers and sisters were suffering. You know, in the Toronto 18. The lead guy, charges were dropped in this case, which is another whole other program, I'm sure. He told a bunch of kids that we're sending soldiers to Afghanistan for the sole purpose of raping Afghan women and killing Afghan babies. And what are you guys going to do about that? You okay with that? You okay with your sisters being raped by these white folk?
Canada was, you mean?
Yeah. That was our
when I went there, and part of my orders was rape women and kill babies.
That's what they were being told.
Right.
So when you're 16-year-old, you don't know shit from Shinola.
And
you're being told this. You take it to heart. And
from people, sources you trust too.
This guy was older. He wasn't a religious leader per se, but he saw himself as one. And you'd see it in the stuff that they post. You know, I mean, Driver said his first words, "Oh Canada," and he wasn't singing the national anthem. He said, "Oh Canada, we've warned you. You're killing Muslims. We're going to take our retribution against you." So it's not just rhetoric. They actually believe in this. They actually believe they're protective. And they're being and the other part, which we have a hard time understanding, is they see it as divinely mandated. God
divinely by God.
God. This is God's will. God is telling me to do this.
Yeah.
It's not you're not hearing voices. It's actually you believe that God has a plan for you to do this.
I'm thinking it, so obviously God wants me to do it.
So how do you deal with that? I'm going to tell you that God's not right. I'm trying to tell you that God's lying to you.
So, Phil, I'm going to put you in charge of national security for a minute. What do we tell the Canadian people?
Don't panic.
I love that. That's the number one thing. Like, Harjit Sajjan got a lot of shit online. You know, and you know what? Getting shit online, who cares? It's stupid. But I even got I had friends unfollow, like good friends get mad at me for echoing what Harjit said, because when the attack it was like the first thing that happened, like not long after he took over. Where did they? It might have been Nice.
Oh no,
it was
Paris.
Sorry, not yeah. It was
Paris, November last year.
Paris. Yeah. And then wasn't there one? There was the one in Brussels, maybe. And they're like, Harjit said there's nothing to fear, and and I, you know, when you listen to what Harjit Sajjan, the minister, said when he took over, it wasn't there's nothing to fear. It was don't live in fear. And that's what, you know, like I have talks with people, and they go, my daughters will say, like, you know, why is there bad guys? And it's part of how we sign off from the show. It's because there's good guys. Yeah. And there's bad guys and good guys, and we're the good guys, no matter what. And that's just the way it is. And you can sit in the basement and build a bunker and worry about the bad guys, and you'll be safe.
Yeah.
But a shit life.
Exactly.
You can, you know, it's like people who say, well, I can't get a motorcycle because I'm afraid I'll kill myself. okay, yeah, right on. I'll be over here on my motorcycle because I'm willing to take that risk to have a good life.
Well, you're absolutely right. And, you know, the risk from terrorism is infinitesimally small in Canada. This is not Somalia.
Yeah.
This is not Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Okay. And, you know, I had to laugh in the aftermath of the Paris attacks. Some school board in Calgary canceled a school trip.
I saw that. I rolled my eyes.
There was no safer place on the planet than Paris the day after the attack.
The day after.
You have 10,000 goddamn soldiers with automatic weapons in the streets.
And they still do.
Yeah, and they still do.
Yeah.
So, you know, the problem is this. I mean, the terrorists tell us that. We're going to make you afraid. So if you cancel your normal plans, if you're afraid,
they win.
If you're afraid to get into a car, if you're afraid to send your kids to school, if you're afraid to go to the Red Blacks game because there might be an IED tonight, then like you said, sit in your basement, duct tape the windows, and stock up on bottled water, and you'll be completely safe until the earthquake comes and you're dead anyway. Yeah. So
or the zombies show up.
Yeah. I mean,
then you better have lots of ammo. Come to my house.
You can't live that way.
Yeah.
I mean, as the minister said, don't be stupid.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be going to Somalia for vacation tomorrow anyway, just for the hell of it. But you know, and be vigilant. If you see something, say something instead of just burying it. But don't change your life because we've had. Well, I worked in intelligence for 30 years, so I started with the service in 2000. So we've had 7, maybe 8 plots in 15 years.
Right.
Of which
plots
of which 2 were successful.
Which ones?
Those are the 2 in 2014, the guy in Quebec and the guy in Ottawa.
Right.
So the Toronto 18 foiled, Samosa Ottawa foiled, Via Passenger foiled, Victoria foiled, Aaron Driver foiled. Like, this isn't happening every 15 minutes. Like I said, we're not living on the streets of Mogadishu.
Yeah, and you know, when I talk to people a lot, and they go, well, how do we end this? How do we beat this? What do we do? And I go, hey man, the Hells Angels have been around since 40. And well, hang on, they claim they're an enthusiast club, but a lot of their members appear to like crime. But the point is, they've been around since 46. They're not going anywhere.
Learned how to deal with them, right? We all understood when the Hells came through Ottawa in the last couple of weeks. What did we do? Stay out of their way. They'll stay out of yours. If you're not dealing drugs or wearing colors or knocking over motorcycles, just let them be on their merry way. But
my point is, you're not going to stop them.
No, but what we can do as a society is become a little bit more security aware. I think that there's a great deal of naivety. Okay. We've talked about the resourcing and the money and the personnel. And to stop a plot, even though it was successful, it took a lot of doing. It burned a lot of people out. It retired a lot of people, the Toronto 18. It's a community effort. It requires the cooperation of vigilant people in the community, in religious establishments, in political establishments, talking to each other, talking to the service, talking to the police. If you see something, say something, help out, right? Like you see a drunk driver on the road, you call it in. It makes the police job easier. But we're generally fairly naive in this country. It's a double-edged sword. So we're comfortable in the fact that things are being foiled, nothing seriously bad has happened, and we're grateful that our intelligence services can do that. We don't want to give them too much power because they might abuse it.
Right.
But when they don't have enough power to exercise to do their job correctly and something does go wrong, we'll freak out and ask them why they didn't do something beforehand.
Right.
People need to start understanding, just as with organized crime, what makes a terrorist, what it looks like, what you can do as a society to be a little more switched on, right?
Well, I agree with that 100%. And then like Phil and I were saying, like, don't live your life in fear.
Yeah, be aware.
But my point is that there's no killing this. There's no line you can draw and just advance and destroy it.
And the reason why is that, like,
you go back. We beat the Nazis in World War II. They're still around, right? You know, there's no getting rid of these ideologies. Like, they're gonna always be there. So to think like we're gonna LA still has the Bloods and Crips. Like, there's
Ottawa has the Bloods and Crips.
But they're not affiliated. If you ask anybody from LA. Not that I would know. Did you guys see the movie Keanu?
No.
With Key and Peele? No? About the cat?
No.
Okay, you got to watch it. Anyway, the gang in that movie is the Blips, the guys that were kicked out of the Bloods and the Crips. Anyway,
but picking up on your point, this is important. Because, you know, when we went to war in World War II, you're right. Nazi ideology didn't disappear, but we defeated Germany. They surrendered. They signed a paper and they surrendered because a nation can surrender.
Right.
An army can surrender.
Right.
An ideology can't surrender.
Exactly.
So what happens, and people talk about Islamic State, well, they're on the run, and they've lost 40% of their territory, and we're winning the war.
Yeah.
Whatever, because Islamic State will be defeated. The ideology
Will
underpinning it will morph. If you're a Lord of the Rings fan, it goes from Sauron to something else.
Yeah.
And until you undermine the ideology, which is a lot harder than undermining people, this thing simply will mutate. I mean,
Well, ISIS is a mutation of Al Qaeda and
in the Arabian
a bunch of other groups that kind of came together after the Americans pulled out.
Well, exactly. So it's not. It's
And you think about that, they're a collection of kids that grew up in a war zone.
Under occupation,
but like watching people get beheaded and hands cut off and women raped all day. Like that's just the way life is. So that must be how you run things.
Well, exactly. So it's the idea. If you ask where it ends, it ends when you undermine the ideology.
Yeah.
And CSIS doesn't do that, and the RCMP doesn't do that. It's people that do that, and the people that do it are the people in the communities.
Yeah, but we can't live like we're gonna get rid of it.
No, it's gonna be with us for a long time.
Forever.
Probably some
like
version of it.
Yeah.
You know what? And if we're worried about the Islamists right now for good reasons.
Yeah.
But if 20 years from now, if all the icebergs melt and Greenland melts and the oceans rise by 90 feet, and the environmentalists say, you know what, it's your fault, governments, you didn't do anything, and they're not taking action, they're going to start blowing shit up because they're going to get angry.
Well, some of them do anyway.
And they're going to say you're not listening to reason. And you're not taking action, maybe you'll listen to violence. I even saw an interview with somebody. He was a Tibetan Buddhist.
Yeah.
And the Buddhists are the most peaceful people on the planet.
That's what they tell you.
And he said, we may have to start killing people to get our point across. This is a Tibetan Buddhist, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
Right. So when people are frustrated that they're not getting their way and they don't see any progress, they say, well, maybe if I kill somebody, you start paying attention.
Right. And they do.
Well, that makes front page, right? I mean, Aaron Driver didn't actually do anything. Look at the coverage we've had for the past. I mean, I was involved in it since the past week. I've done 60 interviews on this guy. He didn't do anything. Imagine if he actually killed somebody. It gets attention.
Yeah. So, we just told the Canadian people to relax. Keep an eye. Or wait, we kind of told them to go to 50% alert, I think.
Condition yellow.
Adam's solution is condition yellow. Phil?
The reason why I wrote my book last fall was that these are the signs.
Which book? This one? Western?
The threat from within about radicalization.
Okay.
There are signs people exhibit when they're radicalized. So anybody can become radicalized, but once you're there, they all say the same shit, and they all behave the same way. If you don't recognize the behavior, you don't know what to do. So if you read any article in the paper anywhere in the world about a terrorist attack by some guy from the middle of nowhere, they'll interview mom and dad and Brett and sis and the imam and the guy never saw it coming. Oh yeah, but there was that time he said this, and there was a time he did that. And I did notice a change in his friends last year.
Yeah.
And I noticed when he did this. Well, that's sign. But if you know what the signs are, you know what to do. The same as, would I know if my kid's on drugs? Probably not. If you don't recognize the signs for what they are, you don't know what to do with them.
Yeah, but at the same time, you're not dealing with kids a lot of the time, right? I mean, you're dealing with someone's kid. I mean, Aaron Driver was a young guy, but he's still an adult.
Yeah.
So
what can you do?
If my daughter is in my home as a kid one day, because you hear about this with kids that commit suicide sometimes. The mom goes, they never came out of their room, and then she wouldn't talk to me, and da-da-da-da-da. Next thing I know, she killed herself. If my daughter doesn't come out of her room for a week, guess what? I'm taking the door off. Yeah. But that's when she's my daughter in my home. If she moves out and decides to stay in her own place for a week, there's nothing I can do about it. She's still an adult, so,
But my point is that unless you're a hermit.
So Luke over here becomes radicalized. He's my friend. I notice. I say, hey, RCMP, this is what I think. What happens?
It depends how bad Luke is. If Luke is really badly radicalized, and
they check his Twitter, they check his Facebook. They go, yeah, he's saying some wacky stuff.
Not even. So you want truth bombs?
Yeah, just lay it on us.
You're one guy you call with a tip. It starts with honestly, who the hell are you? So what kind of, we call it attribution. Are you credible?
Do I have a grudge?
What kind of access do you have to the guy? Like,
am I radicalized trying to throw them off me?
Are you a bartender in the club that he works at and he's a dishwasher? Or are you a friend of his for 25 years? It's attribution and access.
Yeah.
But then even at that, you're one guy.
Yeah.
So now we need corroboration. We need to hear it or find it from another place.
Yeah.
That he's up to something. Only then might we start going through the song and dance.
But based on my tip, would they actually look? What does it take? What's the hair on the camel's back or straw on the camel's back?
Reason to suspect. I believe is the legal threshold for criminal investigation.
Yeah.
Reason to suspect that the individual is engaging in activities that constitute a threat to the security of Canada. Say that 5 times fast. Okay. So what is reason to suspect? He's got to be repeatedly and grandiosely verbal about and outspoken about the stuff that he wants to do, or he has to be associating with people that we're already looking at regularly, or he has to be frequenting locations.
A spot like, hey, he started going to this place, and now he talks like this,
so
and you go, oh, he's going where? Yes. Oh, okay, and then is that like?
Well, that's exactly what happened to Aaron Driver, right? He's online, and he's ISIS this, ISIS that.
Yeah.
He tripped some tripwire somewhere. And say, oh, this is not good. We've seen this pattern before.
Okay.
He's not the first guy around the track, right? We've seen this before. So what happens normally is it comes to CSIS and say, we'll look at him. Now, CSIS, as Adam says, it needs reasonable grounds to suspect, and it has no law enforcement powers. They can look at you for as long as they want. When it starts to verge to that criminal, that's when you advise the RCMP. It becomes a national criminal file.
Right.
The RCMP does their own investigation. But the whole thing is it's about detecting those signs for what they are. And
you said this the last time you were here. If you're at the point where CSIS and the RCMP are watching you, like it's all the tripwires have been hit pretty much, and now they're just waiting for you to build an IED.
And that's part of that, going back to that sensitivity that the Canadian public has about privacy. These things don't happen.
Stay close
accident.
to your mics, guys.
Yeah,
I know. Sorry, you were real quiet in the last podcast. Everyone told us. So.
Practically eating this thing, man.
And I've been licking this the whole time, and my voice is very clear.
Yeah, it's a horrifying thought.
Anyway, it's production. Okay, this is just there's just 2 guys here trying to make a show. Well, 3 guys now. So just try and help us out, bro.
All right, I'll give you an example. You go back to your example and you say, Luke is this terrorist guy. Okay, great. Thanks for coming out. If we're watching the Twitter feeds and the Instagrams of somebody else that we suspect, and we start seeing this guy we don't know, he's suddenly following another terrorist enthusiast, liking, retweeting, and we go, okay, well, who's this guy? And if we match it to him, check our records and go, oh, look, here's his name and phone number, and that's corroboration.
His buddy called in a tip.
We have 2 sources of information, or he frequents a place and he shows up as an unknown person, and he's talking to terrorist guy number 2. They might go, we better have a closer look at this guy. It's the 5th time we've seen him here.
Right.
When they finally do identify him and cross-check him, they go, oh, that tip was worthwhile. Then they'll look.
Yeah, that's more corroboration.
But you need usually a minimum of 2 pieces of information from different places before it really starts to evolve.
Right. No, I'm with you. you. I'm just saying, like, the typical Canadian, we just told them, keep your eyes open.
Yeah.
Keep your eyes, know the signs. I know the signs. I got my eyes open. Holy shit, Luke looks like he might be starting to become a terrorist.
Now, the other option that's going to come on board real quick is that the Minister Goodale has announced they're going to create this new office, and it's going to be the Office of Counter-Radicalization.
I heard him say this on the radio yesterday.
Yeah, it was a campaign promised by the Liberals.
Right.
So here's the idea behind that. Maybe Luke is so far gone, he's a threat to national security.
So we throw him in a camp.
Yeah. Or maybe he's just starting out. And maybe if the right people talk to him and talk some sense or smack him about a little bit, I'm being facetious here, maybe he thinks this is a bad idea.
Right.
So the theory is that if you think of your radicalization as kind of like an arrow, it's not very accurate, but we use that for to illustrate. The closer you get to the beginning, the better the chances you might, and I stress might, have a chance to divert somebody off the path. If you're waiting halfway, or like an Aaron Driver the day before he's about to blow something up, that's not diversion, that's disruption and arrest. Now, the problem is that we think it might work here. No one's really sure. And there's not a lot of data that shows it's going to work. But it's good for 2 simple reasons. It's cheap. Investigations cost millions of dollars.
So do prosecutions.
Exactly. So if
jail.
So if I divert one kid,
Right.
You know, out of 100 I divert one, I've saved the crown 100 million, or whatever the figure is, right?
A lot of money.
Exactly. So it's cheap and it's easy to sell to the communities because you're not coming in guns blazing. We're going to arrest your kid. We're gonna help your little kid.
Yeah.
Whether he's joining a gang or joining a terrorist group or becoming a douche, we're gonna help him before he gets to that point where he becomes a national security concern.
It was crass, but somebody said, one of my friends said after Aaron Driver was killed by the police, said, well, how much money did that save the taxpayer? Because no jail time, no prosecution, no lengthy trial, and no, you laugh a little bit, but at the same time, intervention before they ever become a criminal.
Well, exactly,
is probably the cheapest alternative we have.
So what's happening is there's a couple police forces in Canada that already do this for gangs,
right?
And they're going to modify it for radicalization.
Yeah,
and it's happening now in Calgary and it's happening in Toronto. So this is I support this idea 1,000%.
Good, but
with the one thing, if it doesn't work, someone's got to call someone. Okay, so I'm looking at Adam. I'm going to give Adam some help. But Adam is ignoring me. Adam thinks I'm a douche. Adam doesn't think I'm a real Muslim. Adam thinks I'm an infidel. So I'm not getting through to Adam. Someone has to say, okay, we tried with Adam. We tried for 6 months, a year. Nothing's getting through. It's over to you, RCMP, because we think he's now a threat because he's not listening to anything. So it's a really good program to give it the old college try.
Right. Yeah, but if you have to show up at the Office of De-Radicalization, trying to become a jihadi seems like a long shot at that point, don't you think?
Well, I don't follow.
Well, that's like you've hit all the tripwires.
Well, yeah. See, so yeah, there's a couple concepts, right? So de-radicalization, it happens only after you've done something or you're already there.
Oh, okay.
And
sorry,
I'm a real skeptic. I think that once the thought,
sorry, what's this office going to be called?
Counter-radicalization. So it's before you become a terrorist, before you become radicalized. You're just starting to visit certain websites. You're starting to say certain things. Your family notices certain changes, and it gets worried. So it's really, really early. It's like the kid it's like the wannabe gang member, right? He hasn't actually done anything to become a gang member. He's not wearing the colors. So he's just kind of thinking about it. Well, let's divert him now before it's too late.
He's still a prospect.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same concept.
Okay.
But de-radicalization, some countries claim to do it, but you're basically saying I can.
Who's had success?
The Saudis claim to have success. The Singaporeans claim to have success. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They have this de-radicalization center where basically they bring you in to keep you as long as they need to.
Re-education.
Yeah, and they give you a wife, a car, and a job if you quit. If you quit the movement.
Right.
So there's a center in Montreal that claims to be doing that. I haven't seen any data to support, but it's a great idea.
Right.
But I haven't seen any data that this is going to work. But so the whole notion is we can't arrest ourselves out of this problem. It's going to go on forever.
Or prosecute.
Yeah.
Or kill.
So let's try and divert a couple.
Yeah.
And if we're successful, we save the taxpayer of Canada a whole bunch of money.
A ton of money.
Exactly.
And but at the same time, we have to be prepared that some are going to get through.
Absolutely.
Chances of someone getting through in Canada, in your opinion?
Well, the director of CSIS says there's a couple hundred Canadians fighting abroad. Mm-hmm. Most of those were not on the radar until they got there. Until they got there. Then they brag on Twitter, right? Hey, Mr. CSIS, guess it's Phil here. You guys didn't know who I was, did you?
Yeah.
You didn't stop me, did you? So, and then they say, Allah blinded you to my intentions, blah, blah. Some steal passports, some have weird travel patterns. Again, you can't watch, as the RCMP said on Drive, you can't watch everybody all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, some are going to get through.
Okay. So, you just reminded me of something. So, Aaron Driver's on a peace bond. Mm-hmm. Is this part of C-51?
No, peace bonds have been around for a long time.
He wasn't supposed to be on the internet. He wasn't supposed to have a cell phone, I think. And he wasn't supposed to go to certain places.
You know what the best analogy you could make? Because you raised it. You said even if they're being de-radicalized, they've tripped so many wires. It doesn't make sense. How many times have you heard of a couple that's in counseling and the husband's still having an affair? Going to their counselor every week trying to fix things.
No, but hang on. Peace bond, is it...
No, peace bond.
What does it do?
Peace bond is a legal tool in Canada. So what it is,
but it's for more than just terrorists.
Oh, everything. Yeah.
Sorry. Was that what you were going to say?
No.
No. He's on it. So the police can ask for a peace bond. They go to a judge and say, this guy's I need a peace bond for the following reasons. So what a peace bond is, you have reasonable grounds to believe someone has criminal intent.
Okay.
Not
anything
criminal
from
action.
assault to terrorist.
Domestic abusers. I mean, wives get them all the time against ex-husbands, right?
Okay.
So and so when you sign the peace bond, you say, I will abide by the following conditions. I will not visit my ex-wife. I will not get within 300 meters of the house. I will not call her, all this kind of stuff. Police don't necessarily have the resources to monitor those conditions.
Of course not.
Because
it'd be like enforcing a restraining order 24/7.
Well, exactly. So Aaron Driver, when he got his peace bond in June of last year.
Right.
And there were a whole bunch of conditions. One was no cell phone, no internet, no explosives, no firearms. He had to live with his sister in Strathroy. So all these conditions.
Yeah.
So people say, well, how did he get the internet? Because they weren't following 24/7. Because they assessed at the time, for whatever reason, I'm not going to Monday mortar quarterback the RCMP here. They assessed him not to be an A team. He was a B team. Okay, he was not that serious.
Right.
So you don't put resources on a guy who's not serious. You got far too many guys to worry about your B-listers.
Yeah.
You just can't do it.
Yeah.
So they probably followed him for a while. His lawyer argued against all the conditions.
Yeah, of course.
He actually had a GPS bracelet at one point, an ankle bracelet. A lawyer got that taken off within a couple of months. So now you don't know where he is,
right,
unless you have eyes on him.
Right.
And as for the not having internet access, well, they could have got a warrant, but why would you get a warrant to get someone who's not supposed to have internet access?
Exactly.
You're wasting your time.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not the RCMP's fault. I mean, they just didn't have the horses, no pun intended, to watch everybody all the time.
Well, we understand that. Mm-hmm. I think, people are asking these questions like, but what's the sister going to do? She doesn't know, or if she does know, it's her brother.
Exactly. So the question a lot of people have been asking the last couple of days, maybe peace bonds aren't the best tool for terrorists. Maybe they work for, spouse abuse. I don't know. Maybe they work for other cases. But if you've got a guy who's on a peace bond for terrorism, it's because he's got a terrorist mentality. So giving him a peace bond is not going to cause him to lose the mentality. He's not going to change his mind. So maybe you have to have enforceable conditions. Yeah. Maybe you have to have surveillance. Maybe you have to have mandatory counter-radicalization programs. Mm-hmm. Maybe you have to have mandatory warrant coverage to see he's not online. Mandatory meetings with the police every 3 days or whatever kind of thing.
Right.
For right now in Canada, my understanding is there's only 11 people on a terrorist peace bond. Out of the hundreds of peace bonds we have every day, there's only 11 for terrorism. Maybe those 11 cases are special.
Yeah.
Have to be treated differently.
You think that's something they'll look at now?
I think it is.
Yeah.
The Minister of Goodale said that just today. He says, I don't think peace bonds are working for terrorists.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So they realize that there's a bit of a shortcoming here. So maybe you have a peace bond on steroids.
Okay.
We'll do it. So you still can't charge him. He still committed an offense.
Right.
But we'll have a peace bond, and we will monitor the conditions of that peace bond.
Right.
For these 11 cases or 20 cases or whatever cases we're going to have in Canada.
So what would that mean? Monitoring. So let's say I'm on one of these new improved peace bonds. How do you monitor?
Well, it could take many forms. I think enhanced cooperation between the service and the RCMP is still something that needs to evolve to a higher level. I would do this the old-fashioned way. The most effective way to keep eyes on terrorists is to run a really competent human source against them 24/7.
So like one of his friends just, hey, go drop in on Jody and see what he's up to for me.
Surveillance can be defeated. Technical intercepts can be defeated. Monitoring your internet connection, it can be defeated easily. It's too easy these days. But getting somebody into somebody's confidence and slowly eliciting the truth from them and documenting their movements and their actions from a first-person perspective is still one of the most effective ways to do things.
Yeah, there's no question that obviously, Adam and I are biased. We work for human organizations, but human intelligence, like I work SIG and I work human. I've seen it all. There's nothing like a human source because you can direct them, and if we notice changes, we have the human source pick up on those changes. SIGINT's passive. I listen to you and Jody and Adam talk. I intercept the call. That's passive. I can't influence what you're saying.
Yeah,
a human source can influence you.
Yeah,
and they can really get a good idea of what's going on. So I would also argue you want to get the local law enforcement involved as well.
Well, that's where I was going to go. Like RCMP can't do it all.
No.
So in the case of Strathroy, I assume OPP is probably the local force contract. Mm-hmm. So they would be the ones, hey, don't forget to go check in on Aaron every other Friday.
There's 5,000 OPP officers in the province of Ontario. Now, they're not all doing surveillance, and they're all doing all kinds of stuff, but the OPP...
Yeah, but a regular cop could just swing by and knock on the door and say, hey, what's up, man? Just coming by to check up on your peace bond.
Yeah.
Take a look around, make sure there's no computers on.
And you know what? That's a whole other can of worms. It's an interesting argument because that's how the police used to operate. Community policing used to be called walking the beat with your partner. You knew the store owners, you knew the guy that ran the garage, you knew the mailman, the milkman. You knocked on people's doors, you had coffee with people. And if you saw something that looked funny, you said, hey, come on over here. Identify yourself to me. What exactly is it you're doing at 3 in the morning? Now they've banned the practice of street checking in the province of Ontario. So police can no longer rely on that time-honored tradition of the policeman's instinct or his gut to do their job effectively. They also work alone now. They ride cruisers by themselves. They have to wait for backup, and they're limited in how they can interact with the public.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, it's a great idea, but we're not allowing them to do it.
In Ottawa, you know, we have one of the lowest ratio of police to citizen in the country. I think last time I checked, we were 4th lowest, and we're the 6th largest municipality in the country. So you know, our cops, you know, putting them out in pairs, great. They go out in the bikes in the summer. They're walking in the market when it's, you know, at the right times. But we have a massive geography and, you know, and one of the lowest ratios of cops. So they have to be in cars to do their beat. And they and unless we hire a whole bunch more cops. So, but what I'm saying is you don't even need a neighborhood cop. It could be like, okay, Adam, you're on East End, Ottawa today, or you're out of 3 platoon. Hey, I need you to go to this address and talk to this Luke guy. Just you know, here's the peace bond, and so you look at it. Oh, okay, yeah. It can be any cop, or it can be any, you know, man, I don't know. Send bylaw over to anyone with the authority to enter. Now, does a peace bond allow the police to enter the house? Without a warrant?
You probably still. I don't know the law on that.
Or would that be part of the peace bond, depending on the conditions?
You could probably ask for the condition, but I'm not sure a judge would grant it to you.
Yeah,
and the defense would fight it tooth and nail. Right.
That's a charter issue.
That's an intrusive power. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the reason I'm asking is because like the whole theory of them just checking up on him doesn't work unless they can go in and take a look at his surroundings, right?
Right. Well, like I said, I mean, and I think that
child services can enter your home if they believe that there's something going on, or just to check in.
Well, I mean, maybe that's where we're going to go with these peace bonds for terrorists. It's going to get a lot more intrusive. So yeah, not only are we going to make sure you're not online, also we're going to make so if you get bail in this country, you have to have a surety. The person puts up bail, and they basically say, we will make sure this person behaves.
Right. Do we have parole officers in Canada?
We do. But again, parole officers, you have to be charged. Right?
No, but what I'm saying is if, you know, peace bond, hey, you got to check in here every Thursday.
Yep.
You know, if anything screws up, they're going to call your peace bond officer. Is that maybe where we're headed?
Maybe where we're headed. And you know, thankfully, and I don't see this changing a lot in the future. We're probably going to have a fairly limited number of terrorism cases. I mean, things are pretty good here.
At the end of the day, it's still Canada.
It's still exactly.
Yeah.
You know, we're not France. We're not the United States. We're not the United Kingdom. So we got fairly low numbers.
Well, hang on. Well, what's the difference between us and, let's say, the United Kingdom?
Well, so the British Security Service, which is their CSIS. Okay, CSIS at any given time is looking at a couple hundred people.
Right.
Okay. BSS, MI5, has 10,000 people of interest. How do you follow? How do you investigate?
Sure, but
10,000 people?
Why? Population?
No, it's historic. It's social conditions.
Right.
It's the fact that a guy like Anjem Chowdhury can spout bullshit for 20 years and not get arrested.
So what's the difference between our system and theirs that a guy like him spouts for 20 years and doesn't get arrested? Would he get arrested here? Would he have been arrested in Canada?
No, he would not have been, because we've had it happen here as well. We don't know why we're doing so well. Part of it's because we pick and choose our immigrants versus having them show up on our doorstep the day after, like it was happening in Syria. That's a huge problem, right? We do a pretty good job at screening.
Right.
Okay. So again, it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. We are a multicultural immigrant nation. All of us here are the sons of immigrants, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just it's natural for us. In England, it's not natural. In France, it's not natural. In Belgium, it's not natural.
What's not natural?
Immigration and having people from multiple backgrounds living together, right? I mean, you know, people.
Hang on.
No. See, people shit on multiculturalism in this country, right?
Yeah.
But it actually works for the most part. Do we have problems? Absolutely.
Britain is multicultural
but they've had a much
policy.
Harder time. But see, they also have the English Defence League, who say that only England for the English. We don't want the Pakistanis and the Bangladeshis here and the guys from the Caribbean. You don't have those movements here in Canada.
Well,
you have people, but you don't have movements. Anyhow.
Oh, I see what you. Okay, yeah, you don't have marching down the street.
Well, exactly.
For the most part. Every now and then you have a.
Yeah, I mean, you see that sometimes. But I think the problem. Your question is a good one for which we don't have an answer.
Right.
For whatever reason, it's working well here, and it'd be pretty hard to see it not work that well. But it clearly is not working well in parts of
How many
Europe.
guys get to Canada all bent on doing some destruction and go, it's actually kind of sweet here? Like, have you seen that?
Never.
Oh.
No, never seen that. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I've never seen that.
I could just see me like showing up somewhere all bent to blow shit up, and then I end up at Starbucks with a latte caramel macchiato and a sticky bun in my hand and looking at, nice girls walking by and listening to cool music and being like, man, they got free Wi-Fi here. Why would I want to blow this up? That's like such a waste. That doesn't happen?
I've never seen that.
What didn't they say one of the guys or a couple of the guys that flew the planes into the World Trade Center were like talking about like, it's actually pretty cool here. Maybe we shouldn't go through with this. And the other guys kind of like headlocked them back into the plan.
I never heard that.
No, maybe I just made that up. I don't know. Like, it just seems to me like you just wouldn't want to go through with it. Every now and then, maybe you find a guy who.
But they see us as the enemy, right? They see us as the enemy because of Afghanistan, because of Syria, and because of our lifestyle, and the fact that she's not wearing full covering, and we allow gay pride parades, and
So it's
and we vote. By the way, democracy is the ultimate sin as far as they're concerned, because you're voting for a person. You can only vote for God. Only God can make laws.
Right.
So you can't vote. Voting is the ultimate sin.
Okay. So what you're saying though is that the multiculturalism of Europe they still don't really do it then.
It's more of, I think it's an enforced mandate there. Like they've had to deal with, because they have proximity to the Middle East and North Africa. They're gonna have a deluge of refugees and immigrants, and they've got all of the colonials they got to deal with. Right? They ran around the world for half a millennium, colonizing places, and now it's coming back to them in spades. So their multiculturalism is enforced, whereas Canada was born out of the necessity to put an end to that shit.
Yeah.
The people that didn't want to live like that left Europe, came here and started with a fresh mandate. So multiculturalism's always been a part of our fabric. It's interesting, right? Because my family's Lebanese by heritage, my dad's side, and my mom's is Scottish and Irish. I have Lebanese ancestors that died on the Titanic before people from white Western Europe were coming to Canada.
Right.
So it goes back quite far in Canada, the ethnic roots here of multiculturalism. It's part of our fabric.
It's the norm, right? I mean, I went to grade school in London in the 1960s, and every single one of my classmates was either Italian, Portuguese, or Polish, and they were all the sons and daughters of people that came here after the war. For a better
I'm
life.
a son of someone who came here after the war.
All looking for a better life, right?
Yeah.
We all got along. Yeah, did we have problems? Absolutely. And sometimes you put the Serbs and the Croats in the same room. It didn't work out so well sometimes.
Yeah.
But it does work for the most part. It does work out well. And it's because, as Adam says, this is what our country's made out of. Yeah. So again, it's not to say that it's not to say that you can't have problems within that society.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, if we could figure it out and bottle it, we'd be gazillionaires. If we could show the world how this works, we'd be very, very well. And people do come to us for advice. Why is it working so well in Canada? Why haven't you had an attack every week in Canada? They ask us that question, and we say, "Well, I don't know, because we're Canadian."
Yeah. What was the last attack in Britain? That wasn't like.
Oh boy, it's probably the Woolwich attack where they almost beheaded the military guy.
Well, they ran him over with a car.
Yeah,
then they stabbed him 1,000 times.
Then they're gonna cut his head off. That was a couple years ago.
Yeah,
but they've had a bunch of foiled attacks since then. Yeah.
So why is France getting hit so hard? just like volume.
Part of it's again. There's no easy answer, but just to give you. I'll let you.
Well, just skim the top of the water for me.
So for example. In France, Muslims are between 6 and 8% of the population.
Right.
In the French prison system, Muslims are as much as 80% of the prison system.
And the Muslims there are mostly Moroccan.
Moroccan.
They're all and also
Algerians.
Algerians are the ones that
they all spoke French.
That dude did the attack on Charlie Hebdo.
Yeah, Charlie Hebdo. Yeah,
those are Algerians.
Yeah, so these are guys that they all speak the language just before they come to France. They haven't integrated well. They're not seen as French. They live in shitty parts outside of Paris. high unemployment,
Yeah.
low. They've even done studies where you get a guy with a resume, and if the guy's name is Alain, he gets the job. If not, his name is Ali, he doesn't get the job. Same resume, different names, right? So they do
His
have.
name is Ali.
He doesn't get the job.
Okay.
But if it's Alain, he gets the job, right? So there's problems in France, and France has been a target because France has been very, very,
Involved
in Iraq and Afghanistan, all kinds of things, and it's easy to get to.
I was gonna say, and you can walk there from Syria.
Pretty well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Same thing with Germany.
Belgium.
Germany had a couple things, didn't they? They had a guy with an axe.
Yep.
Okay.
Same with Belgium. Same with Spain.
How much of these attacks happen in countries? So the last big one I'm trying to think of, like in Mumbai, didn't someone attack the hotel 5 or 6 years ago?
2009, yeah.
How much of that happens and we just don't hear about it?
Every day.
Okay.
In places like Kashmir, which is a disputed territory between Pakistan and India.
Yeah.
There's attacks every day.
But those are more territorial, country on country.
Yeah, but there's still a terrorism element to it. The
Right.
Pakistanis are saying that's your land because it belongs to you, so go and kill to take it back.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
so
Muslim
encouraging the
And they've got
locals.
any number of mosques that get the same message, where every Friday the message is going out. Indians are Hindus, they're kuffar, they're infidels, you're Muslims, go take your land back. Right?
Right. So what about, like, let's say Algeria. So how many attacks are happening in Algeria?
The Algerian forces are arresting people daily.
Okay.
And they're finding weapons caches, and they're finding all kinds of stuff. Because there's a fairly major Al-Qaeda movement. It used to be called Al-Qaeda in Islamic Maghreb, which was headquartered in Algeria. Now it's probably moved south to Mali or Niger. But they've been there.
But their goal, never mind Western world, right? Their goal is, like ISIS says, they want their caliphate back. Or they want whatever they thought the caliphate was.
That's just the genesis of the goal. If you think back to sort of what was the goal of Crusade era Christians, right? Capture Jerusalem and the Holy Land. That was just the beginning, right? The whole world was apostate according to them. Spanish Inquisition, the Crusades, all of the subsequent crap that went on in the modern era, native schools, all of that. It was an aggressive move to Christianize the entire world.
Yeah.
We're seeing that now. The caliphate is just, it's home base,
It's
man.
just the beginning.
They want to eradicate the existence of the apostasy worldwide, so everybody's dead or they're Muslim.
Yeah. No.
Now this is not.
I get that.
That's not Islam. This is the radical interpretation. But their end state is a Muslim planet Earth.
Global Islam.
Period.
Yeah. So it'll burn itself out in 1,000 years or so.
I've been doing this gig for an awful long time, and I tell people, you're going to see this form of terrorism for another 20 to 50 years at least. So this isn't going to end anytime. So I'll be dead before this ends, kind of thing.
Well, that's not that long, frankly, when you think about it.
But it's longer than any other war we've fought.
Yeah.
Right, and it's longer. But you see, there's a fascinating theory that this one guy came up with in the
But
States.
is it a war?
Well, it's not.
It's not a war in the traditional sense, and that's why I bring up the gangs and stuff like that, because it's basically like fighting crime. You're never going to get rid of it. You can go through Jane and Finch in Toronto, take out every drug dealer and mule for 10 blocks. 3 months later, new guys are going to be there.
Exactly. One of my favorite quotes, I found this about a decade ago when I was working at the service. This guy said, "It's a really bad idea to have a war against a common noun. War on drugs, war on crime, war on teenage pregnancy. Why? Because teenage pregnancy can't surrender. If you have a war against a proper noun like Germany can surrender.
Right.
You can end the war. You have a parade.
Right.
You don't have a parade. There's no end to the war on terrorism. So when Bin Laden was killed in 2011, woohoo, war on terror is over.
Yeah.
No, the war on Bin Laden's over, and Bin Laden's dead.
Yeah.
And even though Al Qaeda's dead, well, I know it's not. It's come back actually in spades in a lot of places in the world.
Yeah.
So don't call it a war. I mean, that's not to say there's not a military aspect to it. There is.
It's a move.
You take out terrorists with drones and airstrikes, right? But you don't take out terrorism with drones and airstrikes.
Yeah. Well, you arrest drug dealers with police action, but you don't get rid of drug dealers until you legalize drugs.
Or you eradicate the underlying conditions that make people want to buy drugs.
Yeah.
That'll never happen.
You can the demand, essentially, right? Yeah, you're right. The chances of it happening aren't very good.
I say legalize and tax, regulate. Let's stop spending money fighting it and make some money on it. That's what I think. But I'm just a politician, so what do I know? Luke, Is there anything I should have asked that I didn't? Is there anything you guys want to wrap up this subject with? You're coming back, by the way, and you're coming back,
Roger,
because the way the world. Okay, here's the other big problem. We touched on this. We just know about everything now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. So every little thing that happened, like even in Japan, there was a guy with a knife that killed like 50, 40 people or something crazy like that. Like, how do you get that many people with a knife? But you hear about it.
I know.
25, 30 years ago, you probably wouldn't have read it. You might have read about it in the front section of the Star, and then it would have been gone.
Yeah.
Within a 24-hour news cycle.
But yeah, even then, you're getting what the news and the Twitter sphere and the blogosphere feeds you.
Right.
I'll be frank, and I don't mean to be crass, but it's going to sound this way. You don't know shit, and neither does anybody else that's seeing the news. What you're seeing is less than a scratching of the surface of a surface scratch.
Yeah.
True.
Because when you add what we've seen from the places that we get the information, and then the critical analysis that guys like Phil do to contextualize it all, and then smashing it all together with stuff from other nations, the bigger picture emerges. And what the public thinks they're hearing, it's mostly conjecture and
wrong
and circular reporting. And
you're talking about media.
Media
has always been that way.
But that's all you have access to.
Yeah.
But
No, the average person.
You could also argue that it's probably a good thing that your average Ottawa resident doesn't know all this stuff, because they would duct tape their windows and they would stay in the basement.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, helicopter parenting is born of every parent hearing about every kid that ever gets abducted ever now.
Yeah.
Right?
Even though the chances now are like a gazillionth what they were when
I say it all the time. It's the safest time to be a human ever.
Yeah.
To be hurt or to be harmed by another human in 2016 is actually like one of the most rare occurrences that can happen at any other time ever in history.
There's a really
but we act like it's around every corner.
There's a really good book written by a Canadian, actually. His name is Steven Pinker. He's from Montreal. He teaches in the States now. And his book is called The Better Angels of Our Nature. And it's a look at violence from caveman days to today. And he shows exactly that. Even if you include the world wars, the 20th century was the safest century ever. When you were growing up in the Middle Ages, you had like a 1 in 3 chance of dying by someone killing you.
Yeah.
Now the chances are 0.00001%.
And the other, yeah. Then you had a 1 in 3 of disease.
Yep.
And you had a 1 in 3 of making it.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And now
to about 65, if you're lucky.
Crime rates are plummeting.
Yeah.
All across North America.
Yeah.
Right. We don't know why, by the way. The criminologists are scratching their heads. We can't.
I think it's
why.
access to information, personally.
It's a whole bunch of stuff. Some people say it's because you took the lead out of paint and people weren't mental anymore. Some people, I actually heard the theory, and I'm not making this up, that the abortion rate has lowered the crime rate, because people are not having as many kids who grew up.
I've heard that too.
Who grew up with single parent families.
I think that's Gladwell, eh?
It could be. Anyhow.
That, yeah.
But the point is, we are the safest we've ever been.
It's not just abortion, though. It's that the more women are educated, the less kids they have,
Absolutely.
which leads to the less kids being born into poverty.
Absolutely.
And that's what, because let's call them alarmists who talk about, whoa, what's going to happen to Canada if you keep letting these people in, because they all have 1,000 babies. Well, if you go back 100 years, the average Christian Catholic family had 10, 15 kids. Mm-hmm. There's still a bunch of them. Like, I know guys in their 50s, 60s that are, oh yeah, I'm one of 14.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God. Yeah. First of all, your poor mother. Second of all, the more we educate everyone, not just but the more women that get educated. So when they come over first generation, sure, they're always the tough. Like my grandma and grandpa were the tough ones, right? But my dad, I'd say my dad is probably like a super success Canadian story. You know, crawled his way from the tobacco fields around Kitchener at 4 years old to upper middle class. You know, raised 3 kids. You know, my mom came from poverty, orphaned at 10, and they managed to have a decent life. But they also were educated. They went through the education system, and so the next generation is going to go, why should I have 10 kids again? First of all, they're expensive. Dad, remember that? Remember when you had to work 40 hours a day and there's only 24 hours in the day just to keep food on the table? I don't want to do that. So we're going to have 1 kid. So I see education and access to information being what's changing the world. we have more, as much as it pisses everyone off that we have access to each other and we hear about everything, I think that's also altering our behavior to the point where we don't want to live.
No.
Everyone talked about when the year 2000 rolled over. Remember they said all the power grids are going to go down and this, that, and there's going to be chaos in the streets. Yeah, maybe eventually if the lights didn't come back on, but I have and in all the movies that, shit goes real fast. I feel like most people, in maybe not in all areas, but in most areas, are going to be like, it's really good. Let's give it some time to reboot, right? And they're going to give it the time. So I think we're just starting to become nicer to each other because we know how it affects each other, the way we act.
Man, the lights did go out for a couple of days in 2003. Remember that? The whole
That's right.
Eastern Seaboard went down.
Yeah.
And it was actually kind of peaceful.
Yeah.
I remember
that.
sitting with my girlfriend at the time and a couple of friends. We sat in a kitchen table with a camping lantern.
Where were you?
We played, I think we were in Barhaven, like the end of the world. And we were playing Pictionary or something and just drinking wine.
But
and
not
having a
just
good time.
that. They talked about how the average person now is directing traffic, helping each other down the stairs. Like if the elevators, old people were being helped downstairs, mothers with babies.
Right.
Even in New York, when they got flooded there, anyone who had power was putting out cables or extension cords for people to charge their phones, and they were, people were handing out food before it would go bad. I think if things didn't reboot, we might have some problems at some point. But for the most part, like humans tend to come together during rough times, and I think we're becoming a global community with the internet. You have people in villages that don't have electricity using solar panels to charge these things. And we talked, I think, did we talk about this? How, maybe not. The rest of the world that doesn't have phone cables is just skipping right to digital.
Yeah.
They're going from dirt roads to digital because we could lay copper cable for 10 million miles, or we could all just get a cell phone and put up a tower.
Yeah.
How about we just do that?
Exactly.
And we put in solar panels?
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds dope. Okay, cool. Now our village has electricity and cell phone coverage. Oh, what's this going on? Oh, hey, I'm going to chat with this guy Jody over in Canada.
And actually, that's how they're doing all their banking, too. They're getting money through their cell phones. So you don't
they text each other money.
You don't have to go to the bank anymore.
Yeah.
So, you can sell your crops in the village and get paid right away through your cell phone.
Yeah.
No infrastructure needed, right?
Yeah.
Except for a tower.
We bitch about this global economy, but that might be what solves this whole jihadi problem in, like you said, in 50, 60 years. Is that what you thought? Is that what you think? Like technology is going to stamp this out or at least change it?
But the problem is that the jihadis use the technology as well, right? So one thing we know that groups like ISIS, they're brilliant at this.
Yeah.
So 2 months ago, the Twitter corporation thought, okay, enough's enough. We're gonna take these guys down.
Yeah.
And they removed, and I'm not making this up, they took down 125,000 accounts.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know how long it took those accounts to come back up under different names?
10 seconds?
Probably about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Their videos are professional. They've got Twitter accounts. They got WhatsApp accounts. They got LinkedIn accounts. They got Facebook accounts. And they're using all this stuff against us. So it's almost like, you used to say in the old days that pornography would take advantage of technology. Remember the old Polaroid films and beta cams and stuff?
Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing with jihadis. They went from the early days of the internet, they posted stuff. It was pretty crude, but they posted it. Now they're taking advantage of technology. So as the technology gets better, the bad guys get better too, right?
Yeah, but I think it's getting harder to bullshit people too, though.
I would argue it's getting easier. Look at what's happening with Trump in the States right now, where, the facts...
Trump is a natural manifestation of just the system they have down there, in my opinion. But his chances of winning...
Opinion, though, has replaced fact. That's the problem. There's 24
I argue opinion has never gone away.
No.
If you read a newspaper from 1916... It's a lot of the same shit. The economy's in the tank. There's too many immigrants. Not enough jobs. What's going to happen with next year's crop? The weather is shit.
But what you didn't have back then was the pervasiveness and the touch. So a local newspaper stayed local, and maybe 10,000 people in a town would read that editor's point of view, and they might talk about it in town.
Yeah.
But now that it's on the internet and you have open comment sections, what might start as comments on a commentary devolve quickly into a non-contextual flame war where people they lose all semblance of communication and all sense of critical thinking and just get bent out of shape.
True, but what's happening now is that two things are starting to go away. Anonymity
Anonymity?
Anonymity on the internet is going away. You can no longer be taken seriously as Joe Blow 123 on Twitter. Like, I got shit on for tweeting that I support the Ottawa police when they arrested that Abdi guy, right? Racist, a Holocaust supporter, like, people went crazy.
Yeah.
And I, as a social experiment for myself, I went through several of these people that were bitching at me. Not a real name, not a real picture, no location, not important. Not a real name, not a location, no real picture, not important. Yeah. You can say whatever you want. Yeah. But in the flip, I think YouTube doesn't allow you to post now unless you have an actual
Google account.
Yeah. And they can find you. That guy that was on Reddit and saying, I've only heard of one, I'm sure there's others, but he was saying just terrible stuff. They found him and he got fired. So we're moving to a world where your online presence will no longer be completely anonymous unless you want it to be. And then if you want it to be, people are that'll probably be one of the tripwires in the future. Like, hang on a second, why does this guy want to stay anonymous in the international forum here?
Well, and actually, interestingly, so a lot of the stuff that's going on in forums now and in cyberspace, the people have been savvy to this for decades. So the lingo, everything like trolling and lurking, that stuff's been around since pre-dial-up, since UUDP and newsgroups, okay? People have been doing that for decades, and it's always been the anarchists, the black marketers, the pornographers. That they sit there quietly, anonymously, watching, sucking it all in, and then they act unilaterally, right? So even that's not a tripwire. If they don't want you to know they're there, you won't know they're there.
And the dark web.
But my point to that,
we're
never going to get rid of that stuff, right? No. Ever. There's always going to be good guys and bad guys. Yeah. But my point is, you were saying how something stayed local, and now it becomes, you read the comments and opinion that's how, Jian Ghomeshi, who we can probably all agree is probably a massive douchebag and probably is guilty of the crimes he was accused of, but was convicted by public opinion way before he ever stepped into a courtroom.
And he was acquitted.
And then he was acquitted for many reasons, but that's how the law works.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's my point. Right? The opinion of people that don't allow themselves to be identified will no longer matter at some point.
But even the opinion of, the unwashed masses, the armchair jurists and the armchair judges, okay, that has a deleterious impact on fundamental justice. Our justice system is an institution that works.
Yeah, amazing.
When you crush somebody in the court of public opinion and in the newspapers months before their trial, it's impossible to have an impartial jury. It's not worth it to have a trial by jury anymore because such a thing doesn't exist.
I don't agree. I think that going back to your point, if a crime is committed in a town, let's say 10,000, back in the day, who would be the jury, judge, and executioner? It'd be people from the town. It'd be in the paper, blah, 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 public opinion. That's how lynchings used to happen. Right? So the public lynching online now is what happens. But again, a good fair number of them are still Joe Blow 123 with no name, no picture, and no location. Eventually, it's going to be Adam Nero, phone number 613-555-5555. And
Where did you get that number?
Hey, man.
He's paranoid.
I got sources too, bro. So my point is, though, like, these are the things I think are going to change in the future. The anonymity, thank you, Phil, is going to go away, and we're all going to start to hold each other accountable for our actions. Imagine if there was a Yelp. Joe Rogan said this once. Imagine if everyone had a Yelp, because now we got this with the little bouncy Pokemon.
Pokemon Go, yeah.
So you hold up your phone and you see a world that's there, but now Pokemon is in it. When they integrate that with Google Glass and then Google Contacts and eventually the Google implant, you could probably walk around at some point. And a woman tried to come out with this app, Peoples or something, but it was spelt differently. Like there was two E's, Peoples or something. And the idea was you got a review, so people could go in there and go, Jody Mitic, massive douchebag, 1 star. And then someone could meet you and go, oh, Jody Mitic, I'm going to look him up. Oh, yeah, I don't want to hang out with this guy.
Yeah.
So in the future, so that's what a Yelp is,
So
right?
Phil and I are raising our eyebrows for the listeners right now.
Well, no, what I'm saying though, right? So if you see a restaurant that's got 90 reviews on Yelp, 4 of them are disgruntled customers that didn't get pepperoni on their pizza, but the rest is like best pizza ever. It's probably a pretty good pizza joint, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be the same in the future.
Yeah,
You'll put on your Google glasses, and right above you, or your avatar that you decide that you want to look like that day, it's going to say Adam Nero, 5 stars, 88% review rate, and I'm going to go, this is probably someone I want to hang out with.
To the rest of the 12% out there, I'm coming for you.
Yeah, the rest 12%, suck it. But my point is, these are the things, us being able to hold each other accountable, and the loss of anonymity online, because that's the new world, right? The world's going digital.
But there's a corollary to that which terrifies me, which is we are already, in a lot of ways, holding each other unrealistically accountable for things to the point where people are getting so easily offended by things that people say.
But the pendulum's coming back.
Lives are being destroyed over comments.
Or microaggressions.
You look at
get the fuck
microaggression. That's exactly what it's
safe
called.
space.
Okay. And people are being judged and tried and convicted because look at you. You're a perfect example as a public figure. A lot of people take issue with your enthusiasm for handguns. Okay? And
I know I got an email the other day from someone.
You know, if people take the internet at face value, you are possibly the most irresponsible, biased right-wing dick there is, and you have no place on city council.
Well, that's what a lot of people would tell you.
Yeah, right.
But that's fine, dude. If everyone loves you, you're doing something. First of all, put you on a watch list. If you have 100% review rate on Yelp for people, I want you on a watch list anyway.
I think you mean friend list.
Yeah, exactly. My point though is that these are the things I think that once it spreads worldwide will allow us to, like, if someone starts to act, like white power or jihadi or let's go to war, everyone's gonna be like, settle the fuck down over there, man. Things are pretty good, bro. Just relax, okay? Because we know where you are and we know who you are.
I'm gonna buy him a unicorn.
Hey, man, I'm on team people. I'm on team people. I would when I was a kid, I would watch Star Trek and be like, I hope I live long enough to go on a starship. I know that's not going to happen now because we still have internal combustion engines and it's 2016, for fuck's sakes. Tesla just took about 25 years too long. I remember reading a Captain Canuck comic book when I was a kid, and Canada was full of electric cars, and it was like it was still the 1900s. Anyway. A little bit of a tangent there.
Probably still have them if the Americans didn't kill the Avro Arrow. But what else? Next topic.
Oh, here we go. Next podcast.
They saved us a lot of money, right? If you ask them. We just bought some missiles. It was way cheaper than building planes. You guys want to do some... Phil, you want to stick around?
I could. What's up next?
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about... So we had an article come out. And they did a study of, I believe, 100. Okay, so we're all wrapped up, right? You guys want to take a quick break?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. Wait. I'm not scared. I don't care if the battery's down.
All right. Let's take it to the bitter end.
So we're back from our break, our little pee-pee break. Now, Adam, I'm not trying to bust your ball, but you gotta make love to the microphone.
Like this.
There's a massive difference between your voice when you are here and when you're here.
How's this?
No. Louder.
How is this?
Hey!
Okay.
There we
Welcome
go.
to the show, Adam Nero.
I'm really excited to be here.
Matt's still here. What's up, Matt, over there?
I'm doing good.
Doing good. Oh, last time he wouldn't even talk loud. Now, settle down over there, bro. Settle down.
You don't have to yell at us.
Yeah, right? He's got a little fish eye. He thinks he's God or something over there with the God's lens. Phil had to go. He's old. What is he? He's about 1,000? He looks about 1,000.
1,005, I think.
Yeah, so it's bedtime.
Dropping mad knowledge in here.
Oh, my
though.
God.
I'm telling you, that guy's the biggest brain in the
So
world.
I just want to say one thing based on everything we were saying a minute ago and what I was saying. I'm on team people, but again, bad guys will never go away.
No.
We all agree on that. I just think they're going to become less and less and less, frankly. I mean, it's not like there's that many compared to the average good person anyway.
No.
But the average good person can turn bad pretty fucking quick if
There
they
you
have
go.
to.
They have the
Oh,
right
my kid's hungry and you got food?
I'll take that.
Yeah, you're getting a bullet in the head. It's human nature, right? That's like any animal in the kingdom
Yeah.
is there to keep their offspring alive. So anyway, enough of that stuff. All right, so this has garnered quite a bit of chat on my Facebook page. Right before the break, we were talking about the study of that came out recently. Of I found it. I reposted it from Sheepdog Response, which I believe is Tim Kennedy's company. Which I will meet Tim Kennedy one day. So I posted pictures of me and you doing the episode 11
Right. Yep.
on my Facebook page. This is just for context, this is just us bullshitting right now. Adam, if you don't want to hear this, I understand. But when you were on the show, we put up pictures. We got a dozen likes
Yeah.
ish,
something like that.
couple, one or maybe
Like-
one comment. So I don't know if you saw this. So here's us doing the last show. I was flexing because Luke had set up his camera. Come on, man. Look at those guns. Hey? Hang on.
Right.
You register those things?
Eh? Yeah, people are worried about my SIGs. Check out those guns.
That's Photoshop for sure.
Definitely Photoshop.
Yeah.
So we got 19 likes, 3 comments on this. All right? So it wasn't even that long ago. I put up this article. Men are getting weaker because we're not raising men. I don't know if that's true, but 139 likes, 33 comments, and 6,643 people reached. Like the little bar at the bottom. Like if you have your own do you have a Facebook page
I
for
do,
your
yeah.
Ronin training?
I do, yeah. So I see those little bars.
Yeah. Very rarely does this fill. Why did it fill up for this article?
It's so strange the
And-
way
oh.
like some things explode and other things, nah.
Well, this is a topic I think every generation thinks the next generation is just, oh my God, the end of the world, right?
That's true.
And so if you read the study, I'm trying to find the number here. They took a grip strength of a sample of college men They had in 1985 and 2016 they did this study. Grip strength of the average college man has declined from 117 pounds to 98. And the sample size was, I'm trying to see, sorry, it's I believe it was 160 people, Luke.
Yeah, I think it was something like
Ish?
that. Like it wasn't a massive group of people.
That's a statistically non-existent sample.
Yeah.
Well, this is the biggest issue with most studies,
Yeah.
right? They're done at universities. They use the university kids as subjects. First of all, they're all 20, 17, 18, 19, whatever.
Yeah.
Second of all, it's one school using a couple hundred people,
Probably
maybe.
for one or two classes or programs too, right? So it's a
And that's
too similar demographic.
well, that's the thing that I need to know. Like who we picking from? What school is this? Is this a school where people are there to do computer sciences, or is it a school where they're there to is it I don't know, another type of school where they have a lot of sports? Like
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it, and do we really give a shit?
I don't think
Who
so.
cares?
I don't think so.
Does
I don't
this,
think we do
Does
care.
this really matter?
Yeah, I read that the average 20-year-old male now would be about the same as like the 30-year-old mother.
Yes, that's what they said.
Yeah. Yeah. But what does he need to do? We're not chopping down trees now for our firewood. We're not running after animals, all these things in order for us to eat, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, not just that, because of helicopter parenting, so whose fault is it? Because this is one of the things, like somebody nailed it right on the head in the comments on my page, which is now taking forever to reload. So we got, okay, sorry, I just have to read some of these comments. Men are now raised to replace things instead of fixing them. So that's good. That's a good point. Somebody else says, as I said to a muscle guy, I know, but can you swing an axe? I don't know how many who work as physically hard as my husband, who is 52 and can split wood like he was 20. Okay, well, I need statistical evidence to know that your husband is still as strong as he was when he was 20, unless he's on the Stallone supplements. Okay, so, this guy writes that video games, skinny jeans and similar slim-fitting clothing is in style for young men. How can anyone with working quads fit in? That's actually kind of funny.
That sounds right.
Someone here makes a good point. Not many kids have swung a pick, piled wood, as Luke was saying, and used a shovel in their lives. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Oh, someone says it's the last 10 years. This is a horrible trend. Okay, where is this guy? Sorry. Oh, this guy, you writes a really... Okay. Okay. Is this thing on? Is this still on? Okay. So, hey, man, really appreciate... I won't show his name, but I really appreciate people that comment. Well, that's too much, bro. You've, 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs, and 2 of the paragraphs are massive. It's too much, right?
Yeah, it's heavy commenting.
Don't stop. Nobody reads all of your comment.
That's more journaling. I don't think it's a
comment.
It's more of a journal entry.
But people...
Yeah.
You ever go to, the YouTube comments?
Too much.
Or the comments on, go to a National Post article and read all the comments. Some people are there, to argue. You will listen.
Yeah.
And I will give you all the statistical proof. I think we all used to do that, when Facebook first started. But you figure out after a bit, you're like, it's not really. Shouldn't write. I'm guilty of it back at the beginning.
Right. Okay.
Especially when I had nothing better to do.
Now it's evolved into you give it a thumbs up if you like it, or just nothing if you don't.
Yeah.
That's it.
So it's like someone who gets mad at you when they type out a big, huge text and you reply with K.
Right, yeah.
So this guy says, some here are putting a bunch of blame on the kids. Some are blaming video games, but I think the actual article says it well. Now, for parents of the privileged, raising a boy to be a young man has to be an intentional act. I kind of agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't blame the kids, and I don't blame video games. I blame parents.
Yeah, the kid's just going, the kid's not going to figure, hey, wait a minute. Is my strength going to be comparable to my dad's? I better go. No, they're not thinking that, right? They're just going to do.
Especially not at 5 or 15.
Absolutely not.
It's not until they get to be 25 and they go, man, what? As if they ever realize that they were raised to be or they just weren't ever put in an environment where they were challenged.
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe there's no wood to pile.
Well, the parents, in general, I think the trend of putting expectations on your kid is dead. It's been dormant for 10 or 20 years. It's all about appeasing your kid, making sure they're happy, you're their buddy. Never serious, meaningful punishment, expectations. I remember when I was a kid, right, I had this crazy, everybody hated this French teacher. He used to throw chairs and desks. By today's standards, this guy would have been run out of the school system.
Sounds awesome.
And the parents all knew it, right? But he sent me home one night with 50 lines to write in French. I'm going to write, je ne parlerai pas, okay? I won't talk when the teacher's talking. 50 lines in French. And so I stayed up, I don't know.
50 lines?
Great, yeah, lines. I had to write lines.
50.
Fill the page.
Cursive, though, man. Longhand, right?
Yeah.
French with accents and everything.
Yeah.
Dotted.
Remember,
DIs.
make love to the microphone.
Oh, yeah, right.
Oh, see?
So.
See how loud he got there?
So good.
I stayed up till 9 o'clock. Whatever, grade 6.
Yeah.
That's late.
Yeah.
You're getting tired. I give it to my mom. She looks at it. She says, this is crap. I can't even read it. Do it again.
Good.
Right?
Yeah.
That was the last time I talked in that guy's class because my mom had his back.
Of course.
Now, if a teacher does that to a kid, there's a human rights complaint from the parents.
Oh, buddy. Some of the things I've seen go to the Human Rights Commission, I go, what does it really do when a human right does happen?
Right, yeah.
Somebody's head explodes.
Have you seen the list of human rights from the UN?
No.
I think it's up to over 200.
That's a lot.
That's
Wi-Fi is on there.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir. Repeat.
The more things you put on that list, the less it means anything. So why don't we settle the fuck down there, UN, and let's focus on what's important. So, anyway. Yeah, I don't blame kids. And that's the other thing, every generation says, this generation of kids, da-da-da. Well, hang on. Who's raising these kids that you're shitting all over right now?
Yeah.
I see this trend in the military too. Oh, these millennials that are joining the army, they're all a bunch of shit breaks and a bag of hammers. And it's like, well, hang on.
Right.
Are you not training these individuals?
Yes.
Are you not putting them through recruit school?
Right.
So whose fault is it? And I see this one a lot. Only 10% of millennials would join the military, or 1%. And I'm like, how is that any different from any other generation ever? Yeah. Wasn't the greatest generation for World War II, as they call themselves? Hey, man, not taking anything from them. They did amazing work fighting the axis of evil there. But weren't most of them drafted?
People weren't just lining up to go.
I'm just saying, it's normal.
Yeah.
It's normal.
Did have a good number of them that lied about their age by several years so that they could volunteer for service.
I would have lied about my age to join if I could have early.
Yeah.
But it's not the world we live in. I'm just saying, man, like 1% is pretty typical for military service voluntarily. Anywhere at any time, even back in the day, right? You know, when a lot of the people that went on the crusades you were talking about earlier, they didn't go willingly.
You had to go. That was
Get on the boat, dickhead.
Get going. Yep.
All right. So anyway, I don't see the big deal. I feel like if your grip strength is required, you'll have it. You'll develop it.
That's
right.
That's right.
Like, there's not a lot of mechanics anymore.
No sweat.
There's not a lot of lumberjacks. Not a lot of welders. Not as many cement bricklayers. Like, if we just don't have as many anymore. So most of the big money jobs now, actually, a lot of the big money jobs are the trades now, because there's so few good.
That's true.
Right? If you find, like, if you hear, when's the last time you heard about, like, a really good contractor? Go.
I know one.
That wasn't Mike Holmes.
Right. And most contractors hate that guy.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Because well, you got to remember, he's on TV. So, first of all, that's going to get him a ton of
haters.
Yeah.
He's crazy, from what I've been told. Probably why he's on TV. Right?
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he... here's the thing about contractors. It's like they'll tell you, well, there's no real wrong way or right way to do that. Like, what Mike Holmes says is wrong isn't necessarily wrong. It's just not right for him.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and say the customer decides what's right and wrong, don't they? Luke, you keep looking at the battery. You're getting
I know, because it's gotten lower since we restarted.
Oh, snap. Oh, my gosh. Okay, well, you know what? I say we go till it stops.
Okay. I'm not afraid.
I'm not scared. I'm not scared.
So if this thing cuts out, all of a sudden...
It will be the most awesome podcast nobody heard.
That's right. That's right.
Well, no, we just got to keep watching it. That's all. It's pretty easy.
Yeah,
just keep an eye on here. Producer, just keep an eye on that.
I've got it.
Yeah, so what do you think?
About Mike Holmes?
No, about grip strength.
I don't know.
Like, why do we keep finding these reasons to call
I'll tell you why, because
people pussies?
I'll tell you why. Because there's like masculinity in crisis is what it is.
Touche.
The broad thing, right? Nobody knows how to define it anymore. And we look at our dads and our grandfathers and we go, yeah, he was a dude. He was a manly man. But what does that mean? There's backlash now against feminism, right? Now you've got these men's rights movements, fathers' rights movements. You've got guys with ironic beards and stupid haircuts and skinny jeans, and this is the new masculine. And guys like us, you served, and I came up with immigrant parents, and you're looking at this going, that's not what a guy looks like.
Well, my counter to that is that I've said this a lot. I'm unapologetically male.
Yeah, likewise.
But to a lot of people, that makes you automatically anti-female,
which is totally
or anti-progressive, which
right.
is complete bullshit.
Right.
I got 2 daughters. I got a mom. I got a sister. I am not anti-women at all.
No, people like to politicize stuff and put it into simple boxes.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the masculinity that I grew up with was extremely feminist. It was, there were rules around the proper conduct of yourself and the way to treat women. Yeah. And they were way more stringent in terms of respecting women than what these...
Yeah, but a lot of feminists will say that pulling the chair out for them is
yeah, sure. If you don't want me to be nice to you, that's fine. I don't have to.
Right, but here's what you hear today: they girls want a guy that can cry at a movie, and then when okay, hang on, let me start that again. A lot of women that I know, that I talk to, that talk to me, and have talked to me in the past, say, my boyfriend is such a vag because he cries at movies.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
No, for sure.
And
I've heard
the one compliment I've gotten throughout my life and from my wife right now is, "You're a man. I'm so happy you're a man.
You keep your shit together.
You're a
when it
manly
counts."
man." I get that a lot, and I'm like, okay, but to a lot of people that makes me the devil, and I'm like, I'm okay with that. Whatever. But at the same time, I think what you're saying is pretty true, and this is something that's becoming more and more clear, is that for young people today, and a lot of it is focused on boys and males, because we don't have a coming of age anymore.
Agreed.
For women too, but it's really focused on boys right now for some reason, because of what you're saying. The male, I guess because the gender roles are becoming so mixed. And the male of the species has dominated for so long in history and in society. The patriarchal, systematic patriarchal downtrodding of, or whatever those people, the social justice warriors, social or fascists, as I like to call some of them. The language they use, which makes it sound like it's this system that was put in place once and everybody shook hands and said, yes, this is how it will be, men will dominate. And this is going back to the argument. Were you here when I started with the argument I had with my mom?
Yep. Yeah, that was good.
Right.
Podcast 10.
That's, any species has a dominant gender, right? In elephants, it's the females. In hyenas, it's the female. Have you seen hyenas? They got fake penises to fuck the males. Have you seen that?
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
They dominate the males with their fake penises.
That's right.
Yeah.
I heard that.
So my point is, because the lines are becoming blurred and because we're becoming so equal, right? Women that decide to take on traditional female roles are actually called traitors by some feminists. You're taking you're slowing down the cause. So
isn't the cause about them having the choice?
Right?
Like, if they want to be traditionally 50s housewife-ish and have 6 kids, that's their business. If they want to be corporate raiders, try both, that's their business.
Well, here's the flip side of that. A 50s housewife, if you got smacked, you weren't supposed to complain about it.
Yeah.
Don't ever get a job, blah, blah. Okay, we don't want that. Nobody's advocating that.
That's right.
I think what you're saying, though, is if you want to be a stay-at-home parent, let's take out the gender out of it. There's lots of stay-at-home dads now.
Yeah.
That, I'll tell you, the manliest thing I've done, guys, and I've been a lot of places, done a lot of things, and I'm a manly man, changing little girls' diapers. In my opinion, manliest thing I've ever done. Raising 2 little girls is like my number one mission. Mm-hmm. They're going to be strong women. They're going to be warriors, and they're going to be soldiers, but they're women at the end of the day.
Yeah. They're
going to be women one day. And if they decide to be a stay-at-home parent and a spouse, male or female, hey, man, going to be 26 or whatever it's going to be before any of that happens, that's their decision.
You know what I liken it to, man? Right now, it's like you think of a presidential campaign, okay? Right now, the genders and everything in between the genders are up on a stage with podiums, and there's a debate between the genders. Whereas up until this point, there was a dance between them. Once in a while, we stepped on each other's toes or bumped our heads, but we figured it out. Now we're just screaming at each other.
It's true.
I don't know. I guess it's easy. You see a study about grip strength, and you can write a quick clickbait article about the pussification of the male species in North America. Or maybe you just look at it like, hey man, we're evolving. Those, how, like, did you ever see the movie WALL-E?
No.
With the little robot that's stuck on Earth and all the humans have left?
Haven't seen it.
So all the humans are up in space riding around in this massive cruise ship of the stars, and they're all fat, and they all roll around on hoverboards. And it even shows in the movie like the skeleton of a normal human on Earth and the humans on this spaceship. like robots do everything for them, and like I said, they just eat all day and they roll around, like because that's what they evolved into, right?
Yeah.
So if that's what we evolve into one day, first of all, none of us will be there to see it. So what do we give a shit?
So this is not the first time this has happened. This has happened multiple times throughout the history of civilized humanity.
What has?
Evolution to the point of excessive comfort. So it happened with Rome.
Yeah.
And Rome fell to barbarians.
Yeah.
Big, strong, manly men who ate raw meat. And
well, not just men.
Shit. And women.
Yeah, the women were bigger than the average Roman. When the Gauls showed up, the women were bigger than the men from Rome.
Yeah. Every time a society reaches a certain point, an optimum point of decadence, where it's too easy, it's too on demand, it's too available, we become lazy, we forget ourselves, and then bad guys, we said it before, bad guys will never go away. And these guys are not sleeping on feather down mattresses, they're sleeping in fucking ditches.
Yeah.
Right?
Caves.
Okay? And they're getting harder as we get softer.
Are we getting softer?
Safe spaces.
Oh, buddy.
Softer.
Words.
Softer.
Offended.
But we still have people like us.
Yeah, but nobody gives a fuck about people like us.
Until the bad guys show up.
Fair.
And then they I love what we have. And if it means that a few kids scream safe space and all that other bullshit, if that's our biggest problem, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
But because I know there's guys like me and you and Luke and Matt and Tim Kennedy and you know, all Jocko, you know, we've got a lot of Jockos.
There's
a lot of Jody Mitics around. There's a lot of Adam Neros kicking around in Canada and the USA that when called the 1%, when called upon, will lay some shit down. And I'm okay with it.
Yep.
I don't know. My biggest issue is that our health is declining, though. Right. That's where I get upset. I go, man, obesity's still going up. We're this smart and we're still getting fatter.
Yeah.
But hey, man, if that's the way the world goes, who am I to fucking argue with it, right?
There you go.
I don't know. I got. If you look at my shirt, it's Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson. It says for 2016, like presidential candidates, dream team.
Amazing.
Really, Neil deGrasse Tyson put it, you know, and he's probably got grip strength weaker than these guys from the study.
Hey, hold on there.
Oh wait, you're right. He was a wrestler. Touche. I forgot.
He's still in pretty good shape.
Yeah. Okay. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. He's a smart, tough guy. Oh wow.
He's got it all.
But my point is, he's saying, like, and I kind of see this too. Like, he says, like, hey, why would we go and terraform Mars when we could just re-terraform Earth if we really, like, all the movies have us destroying the Earth and taking all the resources and blah, blah. First of all, we're going to figure out how to recycle everything at some point. It's just going to happen. And if we do cover the Earth with artificial construction and fake trees or machines that make the air, as long as everyone's eating and breathing clean air and not being assaulted, do we give a shit?
Trees are pretty.
No, I'm not saying they're not, but they will probably we'll probably have interior forests at some point.
Yeah.
Or something. Or we'll reach a point where, because there's 7.5 billion of us on the planet, there's still a lot of nature left. And nature comes back like that when you stop fucking with it. And I'm just saying, like, at some point, technologically, just like with the internet making all of us settle down over there, ISIS, okay? We get it. You're angry. We get it. Just settle down. We got your IP address. We're just going to get to the point where we don't need to harvest from the earth because we're going to grow it all in a meat farm.
Right, yeah.
Like, we're growing, they are growing meat in Petri dishes.
That's right.
It's $10,000 a pound right now. Eventually,
so
it'll be 10 cents.
That's right.
Because we'll come up with a way, because humans are pretty smart.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. It might get a little tough before we do. Everyone's talking about this worldwide drought, and then Phil brought up the ice caps melting, which was going to happen with or without fossil fuels coming around. I don't know. But to me, it's just wherever we go, and like, again, it's like when people say, "Oh, well, what." in the States, especially, like, you know, the white population will be 50% in 100 years or something like that. Like, and
Right.
it's called.
So what?
It's just like if you like say you went to another country and it's like, oh,
I read
the Congolese population will be 50% in 100 years. The rest will be Chinese, like, or wherever China is settling. It's like,
say it like it's a big deal.
it's, well, because people say, like, they go, well, what, our country will cease to exist. Do you know how many countries have ceased to exist in the world just through migration? You know, like, maybe we're being a little flippant here about it, but I think we just got to stop acting like what comes next is such a like it's such a tragedy.
Right.
Instead of looking at it for the positive, like, maybe men don't need as much grip strength because life's pretty sweet.
Accurate.
And the hipsters are annoying, but whatever, man. They're not bugging me.
Sure.
So whatever, man. Hipster away.
Keep on keeping on.
You know what? Maybe in a way this whole thing was maybe we're getting too deep down the rabbit hole, right? But grip strength is an indication of how much you work with your hands, which is often a mark of capability and self-sufficiency, right? Which is one of the hallmarks of masculinity. Like, you didn't have to be a mechanic or a carpenter, but it was expected that, you know, manly guys could take care of themselves, whether that was doing manual work to support your family, working on a farm, whatever, pushing a car in a time of distress, carrying all your kids out of a burning house, you know, all 6 kids at the same time. I don't know what it is, fighting off somebody who puts your family in danger.
Right.
So that you know, symptom of reduced hand strength shows how little we're actually relying on ourselves.
Or it shows how little we are in any of that danger.
Okay.
Like we talked about.
The danger
like
never goes away, right? Nature's not going to change its nature. Bad people are not going to change their nature. Somebody
Adam,
somewhere
you teach fighting and did intelligence. Like, the whole conversation we had before was about how statistically today you are less likely, even when you add in World War I and II, you're less likely to be harmed by a human than at any other time in history.
How many guys here at this table have had a flat tire in the last, say, 2 to 3 years?
No.
Because I had 3 in the last 2 years, and I changed them all.
You gotta buy better tires, bro.
Yeah, no kidding. I changed them all myself, right? I mean, I don't need to stand on the side of the road and wait 4 hours for a tow truck. I got a spare. I got a tire iron.
Well, hang on. You have like the donut.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you drive?
A Hyundai Accent. No, but
Hyundai Accent. That's a little hatchback, right?
Yeah, but I blew tires on my Jeep too.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah.
I change my own tires. Don't get me like, yeah. But if I got to remount one to a rim, I take that to the tire shop.
Sure. But that's a specialty, right? That's a trade. Right?
Yeah.
Some of the basic tasks, some of the things that you take for granted, like, even chopping wood.
Yeah.
There are people that still have wood stoves in their houses.
Yeah. I love chopping wood.
They buy split wood or they buy bags of kindling. You know, they just
because I got other shit to do, bro. I got 2 kids. I got dogs. I got bills to pay.
Put your kids to work, man. Put your kids to work.
Yeah, hey, my kids would love to chop wood. Trust me. When I was 7, I was begging to chop wood. It's a sign of the modern world we live in this part of the world. Like, you don't need to chop wood because guess what? Nobody has a fucking fireplace anymore. You don't need a fire to stay alive anymore. That's a good thing. That's a really good thing because one of the biggest causes of like lung cancer and all that in like the big cities pre-electricity was and natural gas was lung cancer from like wood smoke and all that stuff. You know, like, we don't have to chop down the fucking trees anymore, man. I'm okay with that. You right? I don't know.
Except to clear cut hectares and hectares of forest for soybean to feed the pigs that we use to make our processed bacon because life's so
that's
fucking
gonna
good.
last maybe another 100 years.
Come on, man. We're crushing the natural habitat by like obscene amounts.
What do you think the area we're sitting in looked like before white people showed up?
Yeah, I get you.
We can't shit on South America for cutting down their forest when we've already cut down ours and in record time, by the way.
This was swamp. I mean, it's Orleans.
But I'm saying North America was basically, well, not North America, but a good portion of North America was a fucking forest from one end to the other.
We've done.
We
a
got
good amount of
farmland
cutting.
all over Ontario. Ontario was a straight up, like you said, it was like a part rainforest, part swamp, and part old growth. Any old growth around anymore? You ever see? When's the last time you saw old growth forest? And there's a little bit left. But my point is, like, if South America wants to do that, whatever, man. Like, we'll figure it out. It's cool.
We will figure it out.
How many cures for cancer did we trample over in between when Columbus landed and we ran out of forest to cut down?
Right. I hear you.
I don't know. I just think people make too big a deal about stuff that eventually we're gonna grow out of, right? Like, I think technology is what's gonna save it all, or it'll kill everybody. And then the Earth wins either way. Okay, are we done with that?
Yeah, good talk.
You want to move on?
Dead horse beaten.
Do you got anything you want to talk about before we move on to questions?
No, sir.
Adam?
Let's do it.
Matt? Okay. So we got a few do you have some questions? Give me yours first.
Okay, I took down some more questions. We got a whole bunch, but do we dare dip back into what?
We're over 2 hours, by the way. Officially the longest podcast.
Uh-oh.
No, we were
Right?
2.5 on number 10.
Yeah, that's right. It was a long one.
That was too long.
The one where you were here was 210?
No, 2.5.
Yeah,
Oh, shoot.
was a big one.
Why did I think 2? All right, whatever. Okay,
Anyways.
let's go. Actually, and yours people liked yours, so glad you came back.
So,
Even if you suck at talking to the microphone.
Sorry.
what is the
We need to get him a set of these. Then he would know.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. It'd
Where's
make
the
a
other ones?
difference. They're over in that bin there. So let me shoot this question at you. What is the ROE for snipers? This says, obviously you can't wait to get engaged to fire. And I heard you on the Jocko podcast. Thanks for your service.
That's the question?
That's the question. So the first part of that is the question. So what is the ROE for snipers?
Who is it?
It is Davis Dillon 32.
From
Don't know.
Twitter?
Oh, sorry. Instagram.
Instagram.
Yeah.
What is the ROE for snipers?
Correct.
Okay, Dylan, not to be dismissive, but it's the mission dependent.
Right.
ROEs are rules of engagement, and they can be modified by the minute. Your chain of command could call you literally 30 seconds before a target pops up and say, "Do not engage," or like in orders, it's ROE is weapons free, or on command, or whatever. For Army snipers in the field in battle, it's pretty much targets of opportunity. Remember, we talked about this a little bit about how everyone has a specialty, right? Even within snipers, there's specialties. So there's hostage rescue, there's and then there's like pretty much regular snipers. And then there's marksmen. Marksmen aren't snipers. They're really good shots that don't do the work it takes to get into a position. Like they'll maybe run to the roof of a building, sit there for a while, but they move with the unit pretty much. And I don't mean that they don't do the work. It's just they're not utilized like snipers, but they're amazing shots. So they would probably be like doing Overwatch for a vehicle checkpoint, and if somebody rolled up that was a problem, they might take them out instead of the guys dealing with a gunfight right there or something. I don't know. There's a lot of scenarios, but ROEs are 100% dependent on the mission.
Roger that.
Ours in Afghanistan were 90% of the time, if you see a bad guy and you know he's a bad guy, shoot the bad guy.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And then for a little while during one of the periods of the public coming back into some of the villages, they were a little more restrained, but still pretty much if you identify a Taliban, you take them out. Or you can track them, or it's kind of up to you. The snipers and special ops guys, we have a little bit of leeway to kind of make our own decisions.
Okay.
Cool, man.
Right on.
What else you got?
From David Sloan, what was your favorite piece of Gucci kit
Oh, you got that one too?
Yep.
Overseas, though.
It says favorite piece of Gucci kit that you had while you were on Roto.
Right. Well, you ever go on Matt Best or Art 15 videos, and they have the one called the Whoopee? The Whoopee.
Yeah.
It's a Ranger blanket / sleeping bag liner / I don't know, whatever. It's basically a polyester, right, Matt? Would you say it's polyester? Or and it's got the polyester fill between two pieces of nylon, more or less, a nylon like blanket with that fiber polyester fill that you get in the winter jackets.
Right.
And if it's wet, it keeps you warm. If it's dirty, it's shelter from the sun. It's warmth and when it's cold. If it's raining, you put it on. It keeps you it's amazing. Like I still have 4 of them that I keep, and there's nothing better than sitting on Overwatch. So before we got them issued, I still have my first Ranger blanket I bought. I bought it at Dishonest John's in Petawawa. It was an old Army surplus store. And if you're really keen, you cut a hole right in the middle of it, because we used to get the American ponchos issued to us.
Right.
And the American poncho is just like a piece of nylon or rubberized nylon with a hole in it with a hood, right? Very shitty rain gear. But you cut a hole in your Ranger blanket, and the same spot is where the hood is. Now that goes underneath the poncho. So it's a poncho liner is the other name actually that it goes by.
Now we're talking comfort.
It's just like being wrapped in angel wings.
Amazing.
And and man, that thing, I've still got it. It's 20. I got it when I was 17. So during the summer, it's been burned. I cut the hole in it. I sewed it up with my sewing kit that I was issued. Never had to re-sew it. The Canadian Army finally got hip and started issuing them in Canadian camouflage pattern with a hole that you could zip out,
Right.
and then a zipper around it, which makes it even awesomer.
Yeah.
Because the old ones didn't have zippers or anything. They had like little strings, and it's like, who has time to tie little strings when it's time to go to bed, right? It's just, you just crawled into it. So whenever I would deploy, I would have at least 2 Ranger blankets on me, or poncho liners, or whoobies. One would be in with my sleeping kit, and one would be on the top of my ruck, so that when it was time for me to do watch, or it was my time to, if we were just taking a quick break and it was a little bit chilly, because when you're on the move, you can't put on too much clothes because you're going to sweat.
Right.
And when you stop, if it's inclement weather, you're going to start to cool down pretty quick. So you whip out your Ranger blanket, your whoopee, and you wrap yourself in that, and it keeps you regulated while you're sitting still.
Right on.
If it's nighttime and you're on watch, you wrap it around your feet, keeps your boots from freezing. Like it's all kinds of great stuff. So yeah, ask any soldier in the modern era, and their best piece of kit probably is the whoopee.
I like it.
Now, if you're talking like, let's see Now, if you're talking about operational gear to kill bad guys, probably the Vector binos.
Okay.
With the GPS attachment.
Ooh, sounds fancy.
Well, yeah, because we could range find with those ones. I think they're on Gen 3 now, and they can range find to within 10 meters out to like 12 clicks-ish. Do you know anything about these? No. So we had the Vector Bino. So it's a laser rangefinder that, if I remember correctly, we could accurately range find a target out to 7.5 clicks.
Okay. That's bad.
Pretty sure. Accurately plug it into the GPS. Now we can get a 10-figure grid, which is good to within a meter of a target. Right? 10-figure grid's a meter. Yeah. 4-figure grid is 100 meters. 5-figure grid is 10 meters then, maybe?
It was a 6-figure grid.
Sorry, you're right. 6-figure grid. And if you don't know what that means, a 6-figure, it's the first 3 numbers are the latitude, and the next 3 numbers are the longitude. No, not long. I'm fucking this all up right now. Eastings and the northings. So it's the anyway, whatever. Google it. 6-figure grid. And anyway, so that puts you within 10 meters of your target.
Right on.
So here's an example. In my book, I write about it. My book, Unflinching, the Making of a Canadian Sniper, available everywhere. So we were just settled on top of a small mountain, and the Taliban waited till like basically the sun was in our eyes. Typical ambush tactics. Started launching RPGs over our heads, trying to airburst them over us. And within less than a minute, we had targets coming or bombs coming down from an F-16 that was flying overhead, because my spotter and my sniper had the vectors attached to the GPS, lased where we could see the backblast, so the big puff of dust coming up, and called it right up. Pilot punches the GPS grid into the bomb, releases, it steers itself to the target, blows up.
Technology win.
So these things were amazing. And not only that, we could give our position back to headquarters. Well, you could do that with the GPS, but we could that gave exact to call in artillery. Once we had that, because the artillery was upgraded while we were there to it was GPS guided as well. Not the munition, the gun itself knew exactly where it was on the ground.
Right.
So we could laze a target and say we have fire mission grid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The gun crew knows exactly where it is. The gun computer then knows exactly what elevation and to put the gun at, and elevation and declination. One round correction. Do you guys know anything about artillery?
Mm-hmm.
You do, yeah. What was your trade again? Sorry, bro.
Ammunition technician, but before that I was in the Strathcona, so armored.
Armored, yeah. So you understand this stuff. So artillery is all, you have to correct it, because back in the day it was based on maps and compasses and bearings and stuff. Now, and it's still based on that, but now so usually it took if you were good, you could do probably, you could get an artillery barrage coming in within 2 corrections. 3 or 4 was not uncommon. And so if you would say where you think your target is on the map, the guns would then fire wherever the round lands. You would then say, okay, drop 400, right 400. Right. And then so they would drop 400, and then you half it from there. So then it's drop 200, left 200, drop 200, drop 100, and then because you got to remember it's an area weapon. If you have 4 howitzers firing, right, you're gonna have a big impact zone. So when it's close enough to the target, then you say fire for effect, and all the guns shoot all the rounds as fast as possible. With this thing, with the vector binos, the GPS. And then the guns being GPS guided or GPS located themselves, maybe 1 round correction. So they'd fire and you'd be like, drop 200, fire for effect.
Just like that.
It was amazing. It was awesome. And then of course my sniper rifle. Or the sniper rifle that we had, which was the Timberwolf Prairie Gun Works 338 Lapua Magnum. Which, as soon as I fired a 338 Magnum when we were trialing them back in 2002, I knew that it would set world records beyond the 50 cal, because it's like a laser beam and it doesn't kick you like a mule when you fire it.
Right on.
Yeah. Okay. What else you got, buddy?
Workout stuff. Do you prefer early morning crack o' dawn workout or the afternoon I need to wake my ass up gym session?
I prefer the crack of dawn. Yep. My problem is the crack of dawn.
Right, yes.
Man, I've talked to you about this. If I lose half an hour of sleep on the back end, I gotta get like an hour to make it up on the front end.
Right.
So, because I'll be home after midnight tonight, the chances of me making it to the gym for 6 a.m. tomorrow is actually getting slimmer.
Right.
I don't know why. I don't know. I used to be, like I said, 4 to 7 hours a night. Yep. Now I'm 7 to 10. 12 if I'm lucky. I just don't know why. The afternoon workouts I don't mind, but first of all, there's way more people at the gym.
Definitely.
And I find like I'm just way more, maybe it's because there's way more people. I'm way more distracted. It takes me longer. I'm thinking about where I got to be. Okay, where are the kids? Where's Alana? What do I got to get groceries? The car needs gas. Is there a meeting I got to get to? But if I can get there first thing in the morning, everyone else at the house is still asleep. Even the dogs are still asleep when I leave the house.
Yeah.
I get back, I can I can make coffee, make my protein shake, read the paper, watch some news, do some emails, maybe read a book. I'll do that often. Because usually if I get to the gym in time for my, like if I go when I want it, like when you and I used to go at 5:30.
Yeah.
That's my preferred time because I go home and I just have this like an hour just for me.
Amazing.
I'm reading a book.
Yeah.
You know, or I'm gonna finish that show that I was trying to watch. Like I'm trying to watch this series right now on Netflix, Addicted to Pleasure, I think it is. I forget the actor's name. He's Scottish, and he's going through the history of the British Empire through whiskey, tobacco, opium. What's the fourth thing? I'm only on tobacco. He did whiskey, now he's doing tobacco, and then opium, and then maybe I can't remember. So that's nobody else in the house wants to watch that stuff. Alana doesn't want to watch it. The kids are like, "What's this bullshit?"
That's right.
I want to watch Bubble Guppies. So yeah. What about you, Adam?
I prefer. I'd like to be able to work out in the morning, but it's just not happening most days. Right at the end of the day, 3:30, 4 o'clock.
Yeah, that's when you usually get there.
Time, yeah.
Now, where do you work out?
Here and there. Where I live, I've got a gym in the basement.
You in a condo?
In a condo, yeah. And, the club where I train my students. So I move around.
Oh, yeah. So you have workout stuff in your club?
Yeah, I have. It's mostly body weight and calisthenics when we do that. Hitting the bags, skipping, push-ups, burpees, that kind of stuff.
Okay, cool.
But, for hitting the weights, Movati or wherever.
You have a Movati near you?
Yeah. Well, there's one coming. I'm in the West End, but I bounce around.
Yeah, I'm a member of Movati just because it's right next to my house.
Yeah.
It takes me literally 2 minutes to drive there from the house. But because it's a suburb, it's too far to walk. Well, I would run if I had legs, but I don't, so whatever. All right, next question.
We got my man Luke Foster here. He wants to know your thoughts on Range 15.
Go see that fucking movie.
Now, are we going to do something with this?
You know, we talked about the Bruce Willis Die Hard drinking game.
Yeah.
Let's do the Range 15 viewing podcast.
Let's do something like that. Okay.
Yeah. Can we maybe we can rig it up to the TV here?
I'm sure we can find a way.
Maybe we'll find a couple more microphones.
Yeah.
And we'll have, I don't know. And anyone listening in the Ottawa area who is even if you're not military or first responder. No, you know what, actually? This one's going to be for military and first responders. I'm going to try and get this movie into Lansdowne at the VIP theater there.
Nice.
I'm talking to some of the guys that are in the movie through some channels that someone provided to me. But they are so effing busy because it's like number 1 on iTunes. I've watched it almost twice.
Is that right?
Well, you know when I said I was chilling out at home?
Yeah.
Alana and I were watching Range 15.
Okay, amazing.
But I had to leave, right? Like there's 15 minutes left. And like I was watching it the other day, and I had to leave when there's 15 minutes left.
Right, okay.
So I haven't seen the last 15 minutes yet.
And it's eating you up.
It's eating me up, but at the same time, it's kind of good because I want to have a bit of a review here on the show.
Yeah.
So you got to see it.
Yep.
And, if you want to come back, and then Matt, you got to see it. Just go see it. Just go see it. It's not going to make any sense, and remember what it is, and you're going to love it. You're just going to love it.
Right on.
You're just going to love it. Oh, so it's...
No, I love his work.
It's
He's
so
hilarious.
anti-PC. It's so counter safe space. It's just... There are a few scenes where you're kind of like, huh? Like, even I'm like, why wouldn't you...
Well, one of the guys that I work with, he watched it. He said the guy's so humorous in his self-awareness with his his blatant. I raised so much money. I just fuck. I'll have you in this movie. You can
there's a couple scenes that are like that, but it's at the same time like there's There's like 3 or 4 scenes where you're kind of like, one scene really near the end, we'll watch it and then we'll talk about it and we'll be like, hang on now. Anyway, yes, go see the fucking movie.
Deal. I think that'll be it. There's a bunch of other questions, but we'd be
Really?
dipping too far back. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
We'd be dipping too far back.
I just got one quick one I want to talk about that was sent to me at the last minute. In the book, you mentioned this is from DMosk on Instagram. He just sent it to us as the show started. In the book, you mentioned that you smoked. Do you still? And if not, when did you quit? Now, I'm mentioning this because it's a bit of a health thing, but DMosk on Instagram, pretty sure I write in the book how I don't smoke anymore because I quit in Kosovo. And I quit pretty much because I couldn't run up the hill next to the camp. And I was like, enough of this stuff. And I only smoked really to look cool.
Yeah.
And to have something to do when there was nothing else to do. Because, like, smokers always get these breaks.
That's true.
Yeah, it's smoke break. Well, what if you don't smoke? Keep working. Well, I think I smoke.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny because I got a hankering for a cigarette.
Speaking of looking cool, there's something that's been bugging me, and I just figured it out.
What?
You look like Ray Donovan.
Liv Schreiber?
Liev Schreiber.
Or he looks like me, the lucky bastard.
Right. Maybe that's it.
But, it could be worse for you.
Yeah. I think he's good looking.
I would.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I lean that way.
Fair enough.
So yeah, I did quit smoking in the year 2000 when I couldn't run up the hill next to our base camp in Kosovo. How did I quit? Honestly, I just quit.
Just made the decision.
It was a cold turkey, straight up. And it's Kosovo, so smokes were 4 marks a pack. 3 marks. Maybe 3.5 marks. Anyway, the mark at the time was 60 cents on the Canadian dollar.
Right, okay.
And smokes in Canada were like, I still think like $8 or $9 a pack.
Right.
So you get Demorier, Canadian smokes, in Kosovo for 3.5 marks.
Right.
So we all had like 18 cartons.
No doubt.
And I quit, and I was just like, well, I don't need these things anymore. I even kept a pack in my, like, because in our all seasons jacket, we have like this pocket on the sleeve. I even kept a perfect size for your compass or your smokes.
Right.
We all keep your smokes there.
Your compass.
So I just left a pack of smokes there for like a good month.
Right.
Just be like, fuck you, man. I ain't smoking you guys.
You won.
Now, I did crack once. It was in Germany, and it was in Hamburg. Munich? What's their banking capital? That's Hamburg, right?
Got to plead the fifth on this.
Okay.
One. Yeah.
Anyway, met a young lady from Peru, and she said, would you like to smoke cigarettes with me? And I said, of course I do.
Yes.
And I ran to the cigarette machine, which they still had in Germany, bought 2 packs of Marlboro Reds, and we smoked our brains out that night.
There you go.
Yeah, I did not feel well the next day, but it was so worth it.
Right on. Perfect.
That might not have been in the book. All right. Gentlemen, thank you. Adam, thanks for bringing Phil, buddy.
Thanks for having us on.
He's a gem.
His mind is a weapon.
His mind is a weapon, but he doesn't think the world's going to end.
No.
And I'm happy about that.
No,
Yeah,
Phil's
great.
been as deep in it as you can be. He knows the ins and outs of terrorism.
Yeah. Well, no, but like he's very pragmatic about it. It's not keep Canada safe, right? He's not like waving the flag and screaming about how we need to, like, remember that movie with Will Smith, Enemy of the State?
Yeah.
And the character that
Gene Hackman?
No, Gene Hackman's character, but Angelina Jolie's dad. John Voight.
John Voight.
John Voight's character, through personal gain, though, his thing was we need to watch everybody or the whole world's going to end, right? And Phil's very much like, yeah, we don't need to watch everybody. The whole world's not going to end, but bad guys are out there.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that perspective. I wish we had more of that. But you know what? It doesn't get airtime.
That's right.
It's not sexy on the CNNs and the ABCs and the CBCs.
Yeah, he's good for truth. Now that he's we're off our leash. We can tell a little bit more truth.
Yeah, you're not hackled by the or handcuffed by the office disciplinary actions that can happen.
The party line.
Yeah, feels good, eh?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's some like I'll always love the Army. I'll always love the Royal Canadian Regiment. I'll always love the Canadian Forces. But there's just things you can't say when you're wearing the uniform that you can say now, and everybody goes, even the people in uniform. But to say it while you're in uniform is just, I can't do that.
But I think it's important the public hears this. They hear the perspective of people that have been there, and so they understand what it is we were doing for them and
for them.
Why we
still do.
Yeah, and why we stand by our methods.
Yeah.
Most of us are not gun happy or surveillance happy as they think we are. We're doing what we have to do.
Yeah. No. I don't think anybody really thinks that you guys are. I just think it's a natural. Again, they want to know when the potential terrorist lives next to them. But if it was them, they of course wouldn't want you looking at their emails. Mm-hmm. So it's the dichotomy of the human condition, right?
Really deep.
What's that?
That's really deep.
Well, you know me. Yeah. Shade tree philosopher is what I call myself. Okay. So I think we're going to wrap it up there, guys. I'd like to ask you all to go on iTunes and YouTube, subscribe, comment to the Jody Mitic Podcast. We are on Facebook, the Jody Mitic Podcast, Instagram, the Jody Mitic Podcast, Twitter, the Jody Mitic Podcast. We're going to Snapchat?
We got that.
Snapchat. Have we posted anything?
We have not.
We'll try and post something. Jody Mitic Podcast. Now, the name that comes up as the @ might not be Jody Mitic. Like on Twitter, it's Mitic Podcast.
Correct.
But type in the Jody Mitic Podcast, it comes right up.
You got it.
Go on iTunes, download, subscribe, comment, rate. Is it rate?
Yep.
Rate us.
Star
write
rating,
a review.
Star rating, rate a review.
Go on YouTube. Watch for more than 3 minutes, I think, and it counts as a view.
Is that what it is?
I think it's 3 minutes.
Okay, then do that.
So go on there, watch or listen. Send us your questions at the Jody Mitic Podcast at gmail.com. Remember, our guest tonight was Phil Gurski of Borealis Threat and Risk Consulting. He's got a blog. He's got a website. He's got 2 books, The Threat from Within and Western Foreign Fighter. Check it out. I'm going to be reading those books in the coming future. Adam, where can folks find you?
You can find me at ronintraining.ca and on Facebook, Ronin Training. You look for the little icon that looks like a spy hat and a magnifying glass.
So funny.
Homage to
but you teach people how to kill each other in 1 move or less.
3 moves or less.
And to fight in 3 moves. What's with the Sherlock Holmes hat?
You know what? That's just it's a holdover from my past.
I hear you,
spy,
bro.
Right?
It's tough to let go.
Yeah.
Anywhere else?
On Twitter at Ronin TRNG.
Okay.
And that's
you can. And if they're in the Ottawa area, they can come to you and learn how to be lethal weapons.
Yeah, we've got classes running Tuesday night at 7 p.m. and Sunday at noon at Collab Space. That's 70 Bongard Avenue.
Nice.
Off Maryville Road South, near Hunt Club.
Luke, where can they find you, my friend?
Coach Luke Rowan on Instagram and Twitter.
And I am Jody Mitic, JODYMITIC, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Snapchat. Although I'm thinking about getting off Twitter. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, you feeling that?
Well, first of all, Twitter's now banning people that don't drum the progressive left drum.
Right, yep.
And it's just an echo chamber for dickheads, a lot of it.
Right.
It seems. It's like where all the internet outrage of the world seems to come from Twitter.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you see Ellen DeGeneres posted a meme of her riding on the back of Usain Bolt?
I didn't
because,
see that.
He's the fastest guy in the world.
Right.
And everyone's saying, oh, how dare you put yourself on the back of a black man? It's like, he's also the fastest man on the earth.
Yeah.
Have you seen the picture, by the way? He's looking back.
He's looking at the camera.
Like laughing or grinning or smiling or whatever it is. It's a beautiful picture because there's like a good...
there's like a meter.
There's like a good meter between him and everyone else. And it's in real life, it's like 100th of a second or 1,000th of a second. But he knows he's so far ahead that he can... Because they say you lose a second or whatever if you look back.
Right. Okay.
So he's so far ahead, he knows I can look over and smile and still beat all these fools.
Amazing.
It's just funny. But people are on Twitter losing their shit about it, and then people. I've been the subject of this internet outrage, and it's like 15 people on Twitter lets the paper say there's an internet outrage, and you should apologize to the people with PC words and put them in a safe space.
Right.
And I say no. But my point is, like, I just don't see the point to Twitter anymore. I don't know. I'm losing it. Instagram, cool. And anyway, I'm Jody Mitic. This is the Jody Mitic podcast. Thank you, Greco Orleans, for having us here. Firehouse Coffee, Firehouse Coffee Roasters on Facebook. My man, please get a website. I know I don't have one yet, but hey, I'm not the one trying to sell coffee. And thanks for listening, guys. We love you guys. I love you guys. Luke loves you guys. Matt loves you guys. Matt, you don't want people calling you or twittering at you, do you?
No, I'm not really on social media.
Okay, yeah, right. Adam, thanks for coming in. We do this because we want to. I do this because I want. I started the podcast because I just, I love this format. I love talking to people. I love learning things. I feel like I'm always growing. And as Phil said, there's always going to be bad guys, so we got to pick which side we're on. And I picked the good side, so this is the good guys. We're out.